Oh, welcome to another Worcestery Council Theater 3000, everybody. I'm Brian O'Donnell. I'm here with Bill Shaner and Brendan Melican. We haven't been able to look each other in the eye since the election.
I'm still not going to look you guys in the eye.
So this is the first time that we're speaking to each other. Bill's on mute, and...
Oh my God, that is so unprofessional. It's like, I'm just so embarrassed. Like, you know, the standard that we hold ourselves to here at Worcester Council Theater 3000, for me to make an error like that, it's just unacceptable.
Yeah.
What's next? The teleprompter doesn't work?
What's next? I forget that Sean has our tabletop stand and I'm hand-holding my mic the entire night.
That's awesome. Like me on election night trying to like text people and I'm holding it like a bag of groceries. Yeah. Bag of groceries.
A bag of groceries.
That was
that's what we call you, Billy Bag of Groceries.
Yeah, Billy Bag of Groceries. Billy Two Bags. Yeah.
That's Bill's new character.
Yeah, Billy Two Bags. I load up.
He carries them all in from the van at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what else is there to say? I want to start off actually by talking like it's a lot easy to lose sight of the fact because the election was bad. That a lot of people that we like a lot ran really great campaigns and had good showings, and we're proud of them. We're very proud of them. We're proud of Attell, and we're proud of Tu, and we're proud of Jenny for coming through. But we're really proud of you know everybody that we have had on the show and endorsed and talked about. I thought Nellie and Johanna, you know, two guests of the show, ran really tough, really hard fought, and classy and cool and awesome campaigns. And as disappointing as it is, as the results were, I just want to say that to everybody that ran, we appreciate you. We thank you for your hard work. And it's, you know, it was, there's a million reasons why it didn't work out the way we wanted it to, but none of them have to do with the actual candidates themselves.
Yeah, that's an important point to be made. Because I think that part of the sort of examination, the introspection we have to do right now is about how it's really unfair, the amount of burden we put on individual candidates. Right. And really need to look at it like whoever's holding whatever seat at a given time is interchangeable. And it doesn't have to be so based on just these individual candidates pulling off individual victories, but just like... and at the same time, when you lose as an individual candidate, it shouldn't be cause to just check out and stop caring because, you know, you tried and you failed. I think that's that regardless of this election outcome, we still need to work on channeling all of this sort of energy that went into these campaigns and making sure that it doesn't dissipate, right? Like,
exactly. I think now is everyone else's time. Like we saw in 2 years ago, we saw people run really good campaigns and get rewarded for it because there was an energy in the city and the timing was right. And there was, you know, this time we saw people run really good campaigns and there just wasn't, you know, it's trying to recreate that first thing.
Well, you know what it was, I think, and I'm like halfway through a post where I'm sort of sharing my thoughts on this for the first time. I had to take all of last week after the election off, basically, and just check out for mental sanity's sake. But I think that we just presented a real enough threat that they had to show exactly what it is that we were up against. And we got a clearer picture of that. And, you know, Maureen Benenda's ability to just come in and get more votes than the mayor did, based solely off of just her personality and status in the community, while having politics that are like widely unpopular, if you consider the way that we vote nationally, you know, it's just like we saw what we were up against, and the Chamber of Commerce did so much damage with that late in the game pack, and they wouldn't have done that if they weren't nervous. So
exactly, and even then there are like trying, like in the same way that like, oh, they kind of caught us off guard this time. We didn't account for how much that money was going to affect things. They can't do that again. And you know, there's just that idea of like, we need to be more cognizant of how not only little people vote, but how many people that even vote aren't paying attention. How many people voted for Maureen Benenda that have no idea what she stands accused of, you know, harboring.
Right.
You know, I know plenty of people that didn't know that this election was a big deal because they didn't understand what was going on with, especially the school committee.
Right.
So maybe even people that voted for the city councilors just didn't even really pay attention to the school committee, and they know who Maureen Benenda was. Oh, she was my principal at South. Like,
yeah,
I didn't like her, but I know who she is. And they vote, you know, they throw her name in the group. So,
right.
Yeah, there needs to be something to counteract that, you know, that ingrained like Chamber of Commerce, like desperation to keep things status quo.
Yeah, and it worked this time, but
yeah.
I mean, they don't have a bench, you know. I mean, that's the best way to look at the at-large outcome of the at-large, is that all the incumbents came back in, like, and you could read that as like just seeing the futility of trying to make gains in that sort of system, but you could also see it as like everyone under the 6 who got in were new progressives, and there was no one else that mounted a serious challenge. So it puts them on notice, and that's like cold comfort, sure, silver lining type stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't even consider it comfort, even cold comfort. I think it's just that we need to start thinking about like the next go around and what it is that to overcome that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is what, you know, it is very, very, very hard to get an incumbent out in this city, but it can't be impossible. Yeah. Especially when you have what did it end up being the turnout number?
22%.
22% of, you know,
which is still nothing. Which is still awful.
Absolutely nothing.
And like everyone calling that high turnout is just like kind of clowning on themselves, because like who outside of like the small arena that we're in could see 22% and see someone calling that high turnout and like take that seriously, right? Even though it's more than we're used to, it's still nothing.
Right. And it again, that number look what it did. It just raised the totals of, it's clear who came out to vote. They just bust in more elderly people. Like the you know, like they just did like that. They just got a bigger program of, you know, getting the scared Facebook group people to drive each other to the polls. And I mean, sure, that unfortunately is effective, and so that's what we need to work against, or that's what we need to like account for.
The depressing reality that I've been grappling with is, as much effort and pride that we put into like the alternative media network that we've built up over these past couple of years, Maureen Benenda was able to just like tell her people to go to the polls, and it drastically outdid any work that we've done over the past couple of years. And that's just the reality of, because it's a reality that was always there that we were just made to see this year.
Right. But because so much of Worcester politics still is just like who you know, as far as like it's the old people's network, not even though it's the old guys and gals network. Like they know these names. They know Maureen Benenda. They've like they're a lot of teachers voted for her.
Right.
Which is crazy because they fucking hated her guts as a superintendent.
Yeah.
But they know who she is, and like Jerma is like a perfect example of like, you know,
So
somebody
depressing.
that is worked so hard to get reelected, but didn't break through with the like, well, this is how everyone has always won school committee seats. And it's like, look at the people that are not qualified at all, but are in the group of people that can just be like, oh, they're run for school committee. Let's vote for Biancheri. Like,
Yeah. I mean, Biancheri is the best example of just somebody who has maintained their position in like a nebulous organization of
Right.
just crony power that
Right.
is used to ruling the city.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think we saw that it was very easy to motivate people quietly by being like, hey, these fucking kids think they know better than us.
Right.
You got to show up and vote for old Diana Biancheri. Make sure they know who's boss.
Right.
You know?
And so many people that are outside of that are coming, even somebody who is an incumbent who is still outside of the circle. No one even knows what she was about that was voting. Like we do, but like no one knows what she's about because that's really not what they're looking for. They're not like paying attention to politics in that way of like, who fits with my ideals? It's just like,
nah, Benyenda's whole thing is built on like, oh, she hired my cousin, right? Like, oh, my cousin got a job, you know? Oh, I got a job, I owe her, right? It's like I keep coming back to the phrase "townie jobs cartel." You know,
true. Mm-hmm.
It's
what it is.
And it is so obviously that, and it's powerful. What are you gonna say? I mean, like it's a real thing. I don't know.
It is, because I mean that's where it's my understanding that Joe in particular went for a 30 to 40 demographic, specifically in the places that I know you made. That's the face I made too, Bill. That's what they went for. It makes sense because that's the demographic that still has. There's still some hooks inside that townie jobs cartel. And I think that's the thing that was missed by a lot of people is that there are folks that out there who that still means something to. The average young person doesn't have any recollection that, you know, if you wanted a meaningful job in a city like Worcester not too long ago, you needed to know somebody. That was an important thing. That's what got you where you were. And they just reminded an entire demographic of that. And I mean, it sucks, but it's also smart politicking in terms of winning an election.
Yeah, it's like time proven, you know, and like an out and out progressive coalition that's trying to make an actual change in the city. That's not something you see every day, you know. Like that was a unique opportunity on Tuesday, and I know it won't be the last one, but in many ways it was the first one. Where it wasn't just like the prospect of getting a couple lefties on the city council. Like there was a chance there to actually take hold of the power over the process. And, you know, it didn't work out at all. But the fact that that was a mathematical possibility is like something that I don't know how far you'd have to go back in Worcester politics to find, you know? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, so I don't know. I think that there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of energy to keep seizing on and building. And I think that thinking about what we're doing here more in terms of a movement than in terms of individual elections and electoral results is the most productive way to go forward. And our job is to just continue to build a media apparatus for that while the traditional mainstream media apparatuses die, you know, and sort of fill in the blanks there.
These are two important points here, which I do think that turnout and like the who turned out is a big thing. But you like it really just boils down to like, in many ways, opportunity to vote. Like, you look at like early voting, for example. Early voting was at the library for a week straight, which is great, but it ended at 5 p.m. every day. Like we
That's
didn't really
true.
don't really reckon with that idea. And then on the day of, it's like, okay, yeah, that's great. Like the voting goes until 8 p.m. But like, how many young people, how many people that live downtown, which the demographic down there is younger and or poorer, are working 2 jobs on a Tuesday, or are working like weird shifts on a Tuesday and can't get to vote. Like
Right.
it's not just as simple as just going to vote. And also, sure, we have mail-in voting, and it's great in Massachusetts, but how many people are not even even know about like that, or the best way to, or how to do it, or the process to do it? It's not like all this stuff is opaque. All these processes are opaque, and sometimes it feels like it's purposeful. Sometimes it just feels like we like everyone has to do better about getting the information out and supporting everybody. But it's all it's all well and good, and I would love that. That'd be my number one hope in the world is for every election day to be a mandated holiday.
Yeah,
but it ain't fucking happening. So
I also feel like the fundamental question of why you should bother to give a shit if you don't already is one that I've been trying to provide an answer that resonates with people for years now, and I don't feel like I'm even close. Like, you preach to the choir all you want, but there's so many people that just have never been presented a case that lands with them of why you should care about city politics, and that's because why? Like, it's a good question, right? Like,
it's a totally valid question.
Yeah, because even when you have things that are good, there's no expectations that they'll be effective or not be handicapped or like kneecapped is what I meant to say. Look at the Human Rights Commission.
Right.
Eric Batista said today, like, no, you can't touch police stuff. You just can't.
Like, with the most bullshit fuck off reasoning possible.
Right.
Yeah, and like, but like for like a person who doesn't vote and doesn't pay attention, the hurdle to cross to get that to mean anything to them is crazy. Like, somebody who doesn't know what the Human Rights Commission is, and then like why they should care about why the city manager didn't give them questions. I mean, it's like it demonstrates so much, but you need a working understanding of things that no one has.
And Yenny's point is absolutely true here, and I think that's what we've very much tried to get across with the whole run of this show. But the fact of the matter is that the money's in covering state and federal politics, and so.
And I think just back to Bill's point,
that's what we're trying to do is build that up.
It's a tough case to make, specifically because that county jobs program in the old school exists for the majority of active voters. Their lives at some point in time were effectively impacted by the county jobs program because they all came up at a time with 13% unemployment in Massachusetts. Like, if none of us here voted last Tuesday, the leaves are still getting picked up this week, and people on Mill Street are still going to be angry because there's new lines in the road, right? Like, very little changes day to day. That's not to say, to Yenny's point, that more good could be done if we had a better representative government on a local level. But for the average person, again, to Bill's point, nobody's presented a really good case as to why voting is going to change anything.
Right. Like, there's no example that you could point to of like, this is a city council or a city government that's given a shit about you, or this is what that could possibly look like. There's like, this could benefit your life in some way. It's like, for most people, it's just their excise tax bills and their property tax bills, and that's the only fucking way they interact with City Hall outside of getting a parking ticket.
Right. And you don't even need to go to the building for that.
Right. Yeah, you just pay it online. Yeah. And like, there's a snowball effect that could happen if the city council started doing things that made people feel seen, and like that, like there's actually someone in their corner. But you have to take power to do that, and without power, you can't show that. Like, someone who doesn't care about City Hall is not, reading up on the crisis pregnancy center issue.
I just wanted to point out, I don't recognize anybody in the crowd. Did we recast the entire city, our normal characters for this season? Is this like a complete recasting?
That's very true. I mean,
I don't see Fred. I don't see our
Marco's still
grandma.
in the back.
Who's that?
yeah, Marco's the only familiar face.
Yeah.
Well, but he's one of the writers. That's why. I mean, the writing staff isn't going to change, but I feel like they came in and they recast everybody.
We did get it. Yeah, Fred.
That'd be
Fred
awesome
wasn't
if
the
we
first
just
one.
if we just unveiled the simulation on this program right here. Like we found definitive proof.
Thank you.
It's all retconned. God. Yeah, and in terms of like where the focus needs to be now,
Yeah, he Jack makes an okay
Next
point,
speaker.
but also shut the fuck up, Jack. Maureen Schwab has been around, but
yeah, she was
Just
in
the
Monsters Inc.
just the sheer fact that we didn't get a Fred Nathan opening comment is wild.
President of the Green Island Residents Group, Inc., and I'm the one they affectionately call Mayor of Green Island. So that means you don't mess with Lorraine Murray.
Oh my God,
Okay,
that's
with
awesome.
regards to this whole thing,
Fucking Parks and Rec character.
at 39 Lamartine Street, there used to be a building, it was for electric company. Before that was very important to the city of Worcester and the Green Island neighborhood, was the motor patrol, and even before that, it was the police station. Well, that's all gone now without anything, no consideration, just put them all.
Pretty sick.
Then all of a sudden, rumors start. Oh, they were gonna put a luxury skyscraper there with parking underneath the building.
This is we're looking directly at
Name of the
the
is called the
complete median voter
Island. Happens in the
on
island
Tuesday
so often.
in every sense.
Floods. People are asking.
This is the person who decided the election.
Housing all over the place. What happens if you get a heavy rainstorm?
Did you guys see that Kathy Roy's boyfriend filed papers for Congress in Arizona?
There's no talk about doing anything to improve.
What?
The QAnon shaman filed papers
yeah.
to run for Senate in Arizona.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
Or
her
Congress.
actual boyfriend.
It was a recent purchase
That's cool. Good for him. Good luck.
Yeah,
with a big
Call back the
house.
Sort of Late Show.
Barcelona's house.
that'd be great. That he'll,
In the olden days,
they should give him the office that they shit in,
occupied and owned by Mr. and Mrs. Marcelones.
because he's gonna win, right?
Doris was
I mean, yeah, sure. Why not?
way in the
You know,
beginning
it's like,
of the Green Island neighborhood center.
does it really matter? You know?
She'd get her husband to come and move furniture. She was a big part of the neighborhood.
It's
And
been 7.5 minutes,
that house.
but
was
she's the mayor of
always
Green
well
Island. You
kept,
don't mess with her.
And it was a house.
You give her all the time she wants.
People
Nucky
coming, and they're
Thompson.
gonna change the zoning, and they're gonna do this instead.
I love the history lesson of individual parcels of land in the city. Like, as if like that is something that anybody cares about.
She did not attend it.
Epic Strat and I have no idea what they're talking about at all.
Yeah, something.
But apparently it's
about-
on the agenda.
something
This
about
is the
zoning.
rezoning, the Daniel Yarnie rezoning issue.
Oh, okay. I still don't know what they're talking about.
If he has no information in regards to what is going on in the neighborhood, okay, you go down to the people. You talk to people.
You know, we have a whole other board for this stuff, right?
about Virgin Hill.
Like, the Zoning Board of Appeals exists to handle these concerns.
They go up Harrison Street to get to Vernon Hill. You look at the street, it's narrower as you go down. Okay. You look at the construction, and then down the street on Lamartine Street and Mead Street, you see a building. And that building is well-built, well-maintained, even recently, and you see that, and then you see these other buildings across the street that look like junk. People are saying, I'd never go on that balcony. Another
Okay.
thing.
Okay, you got a few more. you got-
Joe Petty should just say, whoa, that's crazy.
I said, as
You know, like
city
the
of-
colloquially accepted way to break off a bad conversation. Just keep going, whoa, that's crazy.
All-American
Whoa,
city.
that's crazy.
Then there was talk about, we don't need all these projects.
Whoa.
Well, what in the
Whoa,
world
that's
is
crazy.
the
That's
ability
I'm gonna. You know what?
on
Fuck it. I'm running for mayor
Madison
next
Street
time, and that's
go
my
up
platform.
by-
So that if
Whoa,
I'm
that's
mayor, I'll
crazy.
just tell everyone, "Whoa, that's crazy."
Madam
Go
Mayor.
up there. You're building all the things. What people should realize is Worcester is not the bed maker for Boston. You have to wake up and smell the coffee. If they keep putting
Oh, that's
these
crazy.
kind of things down in the
Wow, that's
island,
crazy.
you're destroying a neighborhood. And
Thank you.
go look at 600 Main Street. In the olden days, that was supposed to be high-rise, for more affluent people.
Okay,
You
thank
look
you.
at it now, but what are people in Worcester
Oh my
saying?
gosh.
They're
She's
saying
just,
they're
she just
building housing that the people in
cannot be
Worcester cannot
silenced.
Thank you.
afford,
Joe,
and
you
I
just
think it's
won.
time
Show us a little
somebody got
backbone.
something smells the coffee.
Thank you very much.
If that was Wolfpaw, the cops would already be in the chamber.
Okay, who's up next?
Oh wow, yeah.
Fred?
Whoa, that's crazy.
Whoa, that's
Oh,
crazy.
he is there. Okay.
Oh,
Fred Nathan, item number 8.18B. So I don't really have all the background information.
He's going to weigh in on the opioid crisis. This ought to be good.
Reports that I'm hearing in the newspaper that there is a direct correlation between homeless and opiate overdoses. I think you would have to be living under a rock for the last 30 years to think that there isn't any homeless and there isn't any opiates out there.
Oh my
It's
God.
pretty obvious. You can walk down any street here and you would see people. I hate to sound like this, but you can usually tell.
Who is the person in his imagination that is not seeing this connection?
Walking and you're literally slanted, and somehow you're able to maintain your balance. How do they maintain the balance?
this
These are the
this is
important
not open
questions.
mic, dude.
Magnets. How do they work?
I guys literally saw this joke at the Vernon open mic last week.
9G.
Wow, he rested his case right there.
I would think they would be
How do they keep standing up?
historical, like
The Weebles, they wobble, but they do not fall down.
founded in 1937. I would think. I know.
Dude,
it's-
he's always
it's
so
a serious
snarky, like
item,
he's got a
but
gotcha on his
Can't
hands.
we grandfather the White Eagle?
I think some homeless people might be addicted to opioids.
As long as
Why has nobody ever thought of this?
You stand up straight.
They're bringing in revenue, Mr. Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager. Revenue
Dude,
is the engine.
the fifth Beatle of
Keeps
Worcester
the
politics
city
right
going.
here. We need
With
him.
all the ways we're spending money.
Call him
think
they call him the
I
mayor
hope
of City
Larry
Hall.
Latino-
Doesn't Fred need to recuse himself from this conversation? He's only vouching for the White Eagle because of his
You know what?
affinity
We
for
got a better
weekday
deal
wrestling.
in Connecticut.
You know what?
Sad
I gotta
thing.
say, if it hurts him, then I support shutting down one of the few things in this city that I like to do, which is Beyond Wrestling Thursday nights of the White Eagle.
To your residence.
Grace Ross, 10 Oxford Street, Worcester. I think I'm slipping in under the communication regarding a appointment of constable under 8.1. I actually just had a conversation with the city manager, so this may not be as much of a crisis, but the incidents that have been going on that I know a number of you have been in touch with us about, where this family was essentially attacked by some constables who didn't even they're trying to evict somebody, they don't even have an execution to evict, and they're violating bankruptcy stays, got reappointed apparently in the middle of October. And I think part of the issue, Mr. Manager, is that those used to be done as a block at the beginning of January. And so we weren't looking for any constable to be appointed. And the complaints that we've put in, because the chief usually vets the constables, all went to the previous chief. And so there's no track record of the complaints that we filed about a constable that might try and renew their license. But this particular constable was scheduled again to evict at this location and didn't even show up this time, sent some other constable. And by law, you can, whoever the constable is who serves you to evict you in advance is the one that has to be there that day to evict you. She didn't even show up. So this is a constable who's made herself completely unservable. We've literally tried to have process servers serve her 5 times at the address she gives, plus a couple other addresses we found for her on the web, and she's unservable. So if you're scheduled to be evicted and you leave, you have a right to call the constable and say, hey, don't show up. I've moved. Or you have a right to communicate that there's a bankruptcy stay and they shouldn't be trying to evict you. There are a number of reasons why the law requires them to be reachable at the address they give you. She has made herself unservable, and that's part of why we've had these violent incidents happen at this house before. So there's got to be some minimum standard, and I'm sorry we didn't catch the renewal, but I don't think there's any way that the interim chief could have known that there were problems because we were filing all of them with the previous chief. So we need a system, but I really feel like this council needs to look seriously at, some system for letting people know and tracking what's going on, particularly with all the problems we've had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's so sick that every week we just go through this little ritual of pretending that public input is valued.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Someone like that who's so smart and would have so many good policy ideas to introduce, just
I want to address,
never going to actually listen to them.
with the city taking property due to non-payment of taxes and then selling the property. There's been talk at this council about reestablishing a pilot program for first-time buyers. I think what would be sensible would be to take that property and sell it to first-time buyers. We're always talking about occupied housing and first-time buyers. That would be a great solution, I'm thinking.
She'd definitely wear the shirt.
Worcester
She'd be
is
stoked.
behind so many cities across the United States. And we definitely need to do this. And this is certainly the most equitable way that I can think of doing it. Since we talked about, well, you talked about, and it had been suggested that the owners of the property make payments, and obviously that was a problem that they weren't paying the taxes to begin with, that we should maybe give other people a chance. So to have in multifamilies owner-occupied first-time buyers, I am a first-time buyer, owner-occupied, and I've been in my home almost 22 years. It works. It works. And I think this would be a good way to try it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. What's your name, say your residence, and let them know.
Good evening. My name is First Puccio. I am the co-founder.
System Nomad, there is a homelessness report
here on behalf
on the
of the
agenda.
Prison Recovery Action Group.
8.18a.
Talk about 9E and 9F. Here because Worcester right now we know has the highest level of opioid deaths in the state. We now have 180 less detox and step-down beds in the city of Worcester than we did a few months ago. CHL had the largest number of beds and was essential to this community because the other centers only take certain insurances. As the weather is getting colder and the word is out that the programs are closed and we don't have a plan in place to fill that gap. So we are here trying to raise awareness about this huge lack of treatment accessibility here in the city. And we are hoping that, with some community partners, that we would be able to assist in trying to fill that gap and making a plan as the winter months approach very quickly. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Carrie McCallum, and I was a lifelong resident of Worcester until I was pushed out by increasing rent prices. But I still work locally here in the city in the recovery community, and that's why we're here today to raise awareness because there is a public health crisis going on. And while, numbers are increasing, like the deaths in opioid overdoses and homelessness, services are decreasing. And that doesn't make much sense to me. Before even CHL closed, we still needed more services here in the city. So with the loss of CHL, our community is suffering, especially our most vulnerable populations, our homeless, those without insurance, and those on insurances like Mass Health, where the reimbursement isn't as high, so many providers don't accept that insurance. We are concerned that there is no plan in place while these services are no longer available, especially with the cold coming. We're also concerned that the city has task forces and has meetings on these issues, and we're not at the table. We represent a large part of the recovery community here in Worcester, and we feel like we have to fight our way into these rooms and these tables that we feel like we should be invited to because we are here to help. We want to help our brothers and sisters find recovery, and who knows better than those that have already found it. We are also concerned about the spending of the opioid abatement funds. When I learned about these funds, the only thing I heard was that we were supposed to have a voice and a say in how those were spent. And it seems like they were already spent very secretly without our input. And
Never heard that before.
saying that. So, we are here to help, and we hope we can help in some way, but we do need the city to, help us too, because people are dying, families are being torn apart, and, we need to save lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
But what if they're staying on private property? What then?
Hello, Rich Tremowitz, Director at the White Eagle in Worcester on 118 Green Street. I want to thank Kathleen Toomey, who raised awareness of the attention of sprinklers and the
Fred Nathan is tumescent right now.
Building. With Marion,
It's like, that's my dude.
President of the club, and Julie Sargent-Pelli, who is the manager and president of Warsaw, which operates our bar and restaurant. While many social clubs are failing, and you read about them all the time, we're thriving. Starting in 2015, a group of us decided we were going to resurrect the White Eagle and make it successful. We're well on that journey. I don't know if any of you have been inside the building.
They're not thriving as a social club, though. They're thriving because they turn themselves into a regular bar.
Right.
With an event space.
It is a historic building. Inside of the building is from the original club.
Has nothing to do with whatever social club they might belong to.
Bathrooms we put in, I shared.
It's another social club that's the same
mounted
place.
urinals.
Yeah,
Been
it's
put in
fucking
Commonwealth
nerds like
in
me.
Decades. They're actually not allowed under the building code, but there actually is an exception if you get a trap, backflow trap that's built. Kohler was kind enough to build one. We met with about 10 city officials last Wednesday. We want to put in sprinklers to work to put the main in from the street. Harrison Street was completed. The pressure testing was today. Testing for bacteria in the water, and then the flushing of it will take place shortly. We're close to 100% plans with city officials reviewing the plans. But the challenge to bring a building like ours up to code, and the issue is when you get to, we're going to do the basement and the first floor. That's all that's required by law at the present time. Even that project has a considerable expense. And then you start looking
Interesting.
at, does it trigger your
This sprinkler thing is
compliant with a building in a historic building? For us, that means an elevator,
listen,
new stairways, new bathrooms.
as much as it pisses me off when
Our capital plan is to build out
somebody
the
you hate
first
does
floor
something that you
success with that. This
support,
sprinkler
like
project is the last
there's a problem.
the first floor
The
completion.
code is
So,
good.
I
The
would
code
say,
protects people.
a project like
It's
this,
hard
with a
for
historic
businesses
building is vitally important
to throw down the
to
cost
work
for
with the
this.
city.
right.
In my
lots of
opinion,
ways. For example, I don't
some of
think
the burden
our
should be on the landlords
assessed
who are
valuation
ultimately
on the
benefiting
building
from it.
reflects
But
our bathroom project
that doesn't really change the fact that bars are closing
So when we
and
start looking at this
restaurants are
single
closing
project,
over this issue. So it's
percentage
good
of
that
the
something
assessed
is being
value
done
of the
about it.
building and how it can
I'm
trigger all this
skeptical that
building
the money
compliance,
goes to
that becomes
anyone
problematic.
besides
So we'd like to
people
work
in
with
the
you. We'll probably
inside the
petition
piss
for an
circle, but you know,
adjustment
who
to
knows?
our, assessment. And I expect that'll be forthcoming shortly.
Okay.
That's actually permitted under the regulations.
Thank you.
And then we have just in closing, as we prepare for the second floor, we think we'll in about 4 years be able to historically restore the ballroom. Until then, there will be.
Just
some
realized I was
lessons on
muted.
how to use without fire protection.
We've talked about this in the past too, but I mean, it's not just businesses too. I mean, this is something the state fire marshal wants to be doing for on the residential side as well. They've been pushing for years to mandate sprinklers and three-deckers. It's really just communities like Worcester that have been pushing back on it because, to your point, Brian, I mean, it makes perfect sense. It's only a matter of time before we lose an entire neighborhood to a structure fire. Even a lot of our new buildings that are going up now are still stick construction. I mean, it's wild, the cheap construction that's happening in Worcester. Newer buildings obviously need sprinklers, but the older stuff, there's no
evening.
requirements on it currently.
My name's Malika Parham Hill.
Right.
And I'm a resident of Worcester. I live on 93 Grand
But yeah,
Street.
to Saint's
I'm
question,
also an
like
employee
this is
for
the code
UMass
changed
Memorial
in
Chan,
2015.
the
I want to say
mission program.
2017.
And I'm also an
And they've been
employee
saying for
Raise
years,
Fire
telling
Act,
businesses in the city that they're going to start enforcing it. They're going to start
and
enforcing
I
it,
am
and
a
now they
case
just
manager.
did.
I'm a mentor. I'm an advocate. I'm a survivor, and I'm in recovery. And I'm out every day on the front line.
Right. And most
working in
businesses
the
just like
community
hope they
because the
don't
community needs
because the cost
everything
of
to me.
complying is too much.
We are having struggles out here when these places.
So yeah, K2Me has a good order today.
I have to
It
say
sucks,
from my
but what are
own
you gonna do?
experience,
It's a good order.
thank God for the programs because it saved my life. But there's a lot of lives out there to be saved, and we're out there fighting really hard to keep these places open so they can have a place to go. And so we're asking if we can at least have some type of say-so in the situation, because the only way that anybody's going to understand what's going on out there in the community is through the community, through the people who have lived experience, through the people that have been there and done that. And so with these places closing down, it is creating a big problem. And we drive around and we see these problems each and every day, right? And we could do something about it. But we would like to work with the people on the other side and the people on this side to come together and try to make a difference. And I'm all for that. And it was well said by my peers here. And we have Everyday Miracles that are doing fabulous work, wonderful work. I'm there all the time. I'm a member there as well. I get in everywhere where I can fit in, you know, because this thing means the world to me. But if we could just be able to explain and get people to understand what it is that's needed, I'm so sure that everyone would be able to move mountains, right? And so that's what I propose today. And I just hope that, you know, everybody's listening and kind of like go in your heart and in your spirit and understand where we're coming from. Because if I can do it, they can do it. And we can help do it, all of us. So thank you.
Yep, that's what Survivor Era was fighting.
My name is Patricia Hobbs from Worcester, Mass. I'm a member of the Green Island Resident Group, and I'm speaking on agenda item 6A regarding 10 Grosvenor Street. I have a packet here that I would like to have handed out. The environmental justice area of Green Island is in jeopardy. Polar Views LLC is destroying our community and robbing our
What a
history.
sick fake
They
LLC
purchased
name.
and demolished 39
Polar
Libertine
Views.
Street, an 1883 police station. They have now purchased 10 Grosvenor Street, an 1890 single-family home directly across the street from 39 Libertine Street. The term decadent never should have been applied to either of these buildings. They were and are of sound, solid construction. Another demolition in this area would just be wrong. 10 Grosvenor Street is within the boundary of the Downtown Urban Revitalization Plan, the URP. Amendment number 1 for the URP extended the plan's boundary line behind both 10 Grosvenor Street and 39 Lamartine Street. At the December 18th, 2018 City Council meeting, a decision was made to approve this amendment, and many city councilors had questions as to why the properties which were newly added to this extended boundary did not have any designations as to their status, as might be indicated in the regulations. At that same meeting, the former city manager, Ed Augustus, made this comment, which is found on this page at the top, and Mr. Augustus said, "I also see this as those properties aren't being targeted for any kind of action. This gives the city and the neighborhood some
Whoa, Ed Augustus lied?
If
That's
some
crazy.
developer came in and purchased properties and decided they were going to put up something that we all don't think is right for the neighborhood or for the development,
say that.
we can
He wouldn't.
protect them from a strip mall coming in or something completely inconsistent with what we're looking to see.
Well, at least he's not
It is
shaping
also
state policy
protecting
on
the
affordable
neighborhood,
housing or
protecting
anything like that.
development as well. So that is one of the positive aspects of this. And they're in the plan, just like City Hall's in the plan. We're not going to tear down City Hall or Hanover Theater or any other property that happens to be within the boundaries of the plan. Again, 10 Grosvenor Street is within the boundaries of the URP. And it was almost as though Mr. Augustus had a crystal ball and was looking into the future. Here we are years later, and a developer has purchased properties and decided to put up something we all don't think is right for the neighborhood, something completely inconsistent with what we are looking to see. We lost our battle for 39 Lamartine Street to a bulldozer, and we fear we have been lied to about our neighborhood being protected. This time around,
Yeah, no shit.
who is going to step forward to look out for us? Will the city please help us? Where is our neighborhood's line of defense? Where is that layer of protection Mr. Augustus alluded to? I ask you, are we going to get bulldozed again? Both 10 Grosvenor Street and 39 Lamartine Street were targeted properties. On the second page, there's a map, and to demonstrate, this map is part of Amendment number 1 in Attachment D at the end of Letter of Intent. This map was used when the city was negotiating with Madison Properties to acquire properties through eminent domain in order to build Holder Park. Not all of the elements of the proposed plans were entered into the official contract. Therefore, in relation to that contract, this map is marked obsolete. However, our eyes cannot unsee the intentions the city had for these two properties.
Can you wrap up your comments, please?
Sure. We do have some requests. We would like, on behalf of all Green Island, please throw up a red flag and put a halt to all these activities for both 10 Grosvenor Street and 39 Lamartine Street. We ask for a meaningful community planning meeting with the City Council to review the process leading up to both the CCOD zoning requests. We urgently request to have a retraction.
Another forum to be ignored.
Permits that might be for 10 Grosvenor Street until any decision about zoning is made.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Don't bother reading the rest. We're not going to do any of it.
Yeah, we don't even know what you're talking about, nor do we care. So don't waste your breath, lady.
Sorry you did your homework. Doesn't matter.
This is a pretty small piece of land. I'm sitting
Good
here looking at it on
evening.
Google
Buenas
Maps.
noches. My name is Ruth Rodriguez, retired teacher. I just want one thing, and I think some of you might know. The U.S. Census Bureau report that found the 10 worst states for Latinos to live in. Guess which is the worst? Massachusetts. And I'm bringing this up because we're talking about housing. Banks don't give us loans, so in Massachusetts, Latinos have the lowest home ownership. I think Worcester fits right in with everything that is in this report. And I want us to, and I've been sharing with you all, we need to sit down and discuss the racial disparity that exists in the city. I live at
Or, counterpoint, we elect Maureen Bienda to the school committee.
the working class.
One of the people most personally
Our
responsible for
elevator
reinforcing that
We
inequity.
spent 3 months without an elevator. And the tenants there Many of them are on wheelchair. They couldn't leave their apartment, okay? I heard someone called me and said that in the west side, there's an older apartment and the elevator broke, and in 3 days it was fixed. We were wondering what is going on here. So I just want us to start thinking about the disparity that exists in the city. And let's try to reach out and, treat each other with the humanity that we all need. Like God, like Jesus said, do unto others as you want them to do unto you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Donna Wood. I want to speak on 9E and 9F.
Sure. Is your city of residence?
Yes, I live here in Worcester. I currently work at Everyday Miracles.
Brandon, how tall are you?
I'm very concerned with the closing of CHL.
About 5'9", 5'9"
And I want to state that if it wasn't for CHL, I wouldn't be alive today.
Give you 5'10".
It has changed my life dramatically.
I had it on my license as
and
5'10" for years, and I just figured, it's a silly
I'm
thing
in
to lie
recovery
about.
today because CHL. And my daughter followed me into recovery, and my son followed me into recovery. It saved my family. And I found Everyday Miracles and started volunteering there, and I now currently work for Everyday Miracles. I'm a recovery coach there, and when people come through that door looking for help, I want to help them. And having CHL closed, we don't have a lot of options for treatment, right? There are some options, but not a lot of options. And it's a barrier for us.
Jail.
So this is a big concern. I'm
Kate
hearing
Toomey
rumors
is
that
saying
it
that
might
under
not
her
be
breath
open
right
for a
now.
year. And that's
Just
very hard.
put them all in jail. How about that?
We
Ever try
need
that?
more treatment facilities in Worcester. Again, I'll say that if it was not for CHL, I can guarantee you that I would be dead. I would not be standing here in front of you today to tell you that CHL saved my life. And because it saved my life, it saved my daughter's life. It saved my son's life. And I have 4 beautiful grandchildren that have never seen me use. And I'm a productive member of society today because of CHL.
Oh, yeah, I'm nomad.
And if it can do that for me, it can do that for many more citizens of Worcester. And I want to help other citizens.
How many counselors are even listening right now?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the thing that really drives me fucking up a wall. Like,
Hello,
this
everyone.
has
My name is
nothing to do with what the council's going to
here
talk about.
speaking on
It does not
9E.
inform public policy in
I
any
am
way.
also a woman in recovery. I am a mental health counselor, and
And that sucks the worst when people talk about real shit, you know?
and Seven Hills, and I'm also a mother in recovery. I have children and I have grandchildren, and one of my biggest concerns is that Everyday Miracles helped me too. I'm also a recovery coach now. I'm also a 59 years old gorgeous woman.
Hell
And
yeah.
what's happening
Hell
now
yeah.
is that nothing has changed. I said I was 59. Nothing has changed. And I've been out here for a very long time, a woman in recovery. And if we think that things are going to change and we're not going to do anything about it, I need to tell you that it's not going to change. And what normally happens is things change when someone else on the other side or someone else with a whole lot of money, until it happened to either one of your children or one of your grandchildren or someone OD or someone are homeless or someone is an active addict, then we make some changes. And I'm here because not only do I have a voice, today it must stop. We have to do something different. Mayor, we cannot just continue to say, oh, it's okay, don't worry about them people. The stigma must stop. It must stop. We're here. We're qualified. We're educated. We went back to school. We're telling you, we could put our degrees on the tables. We could put our experience on the tables. We're asking you to allow us to help you. One of the things that the children used to say to me all the time was, Miss West, can you please this, and this? And you know what I would say to them? Help me help you. Help me help you. So we're asking you to let us help you. Let us help you. We here because we want to help you. Dr. Shingala said it better in Harvard University. Let us help you. He said that. It's on the wall in Harvard when you go there. How do I know? Because my son graduated from Harvard. I didn't have to pay a dime. I fried him some chicken. I made him some rice and a tossed salad. I put him on the train. He rode to Harvard and he graduated with a 4.0. He went to Colgate College and he's successful. Help us help you. Together we can. We can. Together we can. It ain't nothing else after that. Everybody always say together we can, alone I can't. No. Together we can. Thank you for listening.
Dude, the absolute raw power of calling yourself attractive in public it's such a sick move.
First and foremost,
I fucking
yes,
love it.
address the loss of CHL, but let's make changes before it's any of your family, like the person before me said. They're here, qualified, educated, and ready. Fund them. I think a very large, so separate issue, I think a very large part of the reason so many people in this room can't do their job is that in addition to the complete lack of accountability, which I think is supposed to be through systems of checks and balances, the complete lack of support. So yes, it looks like so long as they don't get a car, guaranteed half-year severance if they're fired, let's get the city council a few aides. However, I noticed that one of the overdue debts on the financial report was advertising legal services in the TNG, I believe. So maybe we can get a report on if you all got any competent applicants we can allocate to them. Separately, regarding 830A, regarding getting rid of the person's property because they were late on their taxes. I don't know about this property, but I didn't see a notice in the attachments. And like someone earlier mentioned, Worcester's notorious for leaving a paper somewhere and calling it served. So in my personal situation, I have been served a ton of times at storefronts. When I contacted the city solicitor's office, I was told that I couldn't be served at a storefront. The person must not have actually consulted Google or the assessor's office because the building's actually a storefront. Anyways, I'm just lucky I actually pay my taxes before the city takes it. Not everyone is able to do that. So the city should change the way it does its things.
Just for the record, your name and city of residence.
David Webb, City of Worcester.
Hi, my name is Erica Gerger. I'm a long-term resident of City Worcester. I do want to speak on 9E and 9F. I came up here because I am in recovery as well, and that's my mentor and that's my sponsor. I am a little concerned about what the detox is closing and not having the resources and not having the things for the people out there. I'm standing up here today because I want to tell you that we do recover, and we don't do it alone. We do it together. And I have made a year and 2 months. I go back to school to get my bachelor's degree. I'm in school. I was out there suffering for 10 years. I'm here now, and we do recover. You know, and my concern is I do want to be a part of it. I want to be able to help you because there's nothing better to be able to help somebody when they live that experience, when they know where they came from. And I just want to show you that I'm here. And if I can recover, they can recover.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tejas Rezo. I am a resident of Worcester and also the co-founder of Merrill Safe Haven, a new nonprofit in the city. I'm here in support of item 14G. I'm excited to stay. Merrill Safe Haven has changed a bit since the last time I stood in front of this body. We have officially contracted with the state to be a viable option for those looking for shelter in the city. With that being said, I also understand that the work is not done and that we still need additional opportunities and options in the city to ensure that everyone has a safe place to call home. As a resident and new business owner, I have kept track of the efforts of the city. It's in the paper on a daily basis, especially.
Listen, Cambria of Chalmers, the fact that I quit all of my work in Worcester at this point is a miracle. So let me be a little flighty. All
that
right.
we need to take as a city that doesn't just involve shelter.
There's opportunities to provide support in the ways of food. There's options as it relates to recovery. There is a multi-layered approach to ensuring that folks who enter into the shelter system does not return to need shelter.
I mean, hey,
again.
listen.
Cycle of
We don't
poverty,
want to
first
get into a
have to deal
contentious
with the cause
situation
of the
here,
cycle of poverty
where I have to choose
ensure
sides.
that the cycle can end.
Because
So I
the
stand here
election's
as a
over.
business
I could
owner,
reveal
as
who
someone
Chamber of
who deeply
Commerce is.
invested in the city,
Then where
and
would
the
we be?
opportunity to provide shelter to those that are in need. As an organization whose motto is
Take
simply
that.
shelter the unsheltered, I hope to be a great partner to the city as someone looking to provide shelter.
Thank you.
I didn't tell you to hang out with them.
The city council is going to reframe this entire issue around making sure they don't have to personally see it.
I'm here tonight because substance
They're going to talk about
use
where the things go.
one of the greatest challenges that many of our residents suffer with and struggle with. And we just have to do something when we have so many programs closing. It's a dire need in our
I actually am proud of
community.
myself. I have not told
And I was
anybody.
also just going to speak on behalf of an
I
agency
have not
that
told a
serves so
single
many
person who you
families
are.
is the need
These two
for
do not know
more
who you are. Travis
treatment
does
and
not know who you are.
residential
This is the only secret
programs
I've ever kept in my entire
for,
life.
Parents with their kids.
I love
So we're
telling
also, I
secrets.
think, advocating for
I'm
additional
such a little gossip.
all around an addition for families, which is such a great need. So thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to online now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next speaker identified as Brian Dutremble. I'm trying to mute the resident now.
Brian.
Hi, I'd like to comment on 8.4A and 8.9A, since I'm from the city of Worcester.
Okay.
That's the now next update in the urban forest master plan. I want to first take a moment to congratulate all of you on your re-election. I know that we all breathed a sigh of relief when Worcester was able to narrowly avoid the sort of sweeping progressive change that could have jeopardized its ability to remain mediocre for years to come.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, it connects to it.
Holy
It's all
shit.
connected.
That's some
Just
new
became a
dad energy right there.
Holy
and
shit, that was sick.
when I saw all of the endorsements and donations from the Chamber of Commerce, I was grateful that they were swaying the election to avoid things like the now next update, which scares me and my newborn daughter's future in the city. If we give in to the ultra-liberal faction and prioritize affordable housing, pedestrian safety, and accessibility over the needs of developers and cars, my daughter might not be able to grow up to drive her lifted truck at excessive speeds from one end of Mill Street to the other, or be able to pay 90% of her gross income to live in a luxury apartment complex that overlooks another building full of luxury apartments.
Holy
think that we
shit,
need
this
to
is
ask
art.
ourselves whether we want to live in a city where we can afford to live and where we're able to walk across the street without fear of being mowed down.
Yeah, this is Brian Dutremble.
I sure don't, and I don't want my daughter to grow up in that world. And on the forest master plan, we should not be planting more trees. A tree is just a wasted Woosocks parking spot. As the saying goes, blessed is he who paves parking spots in which he will never park. I suggest that we treat both of these plans the same way that the city manager would approach a request from the Human Rights Commission, deny them while we wait for the state or the feds to force us to act. And then when we've put it off as long as we possibly can, do the most developer-friendly thing and pick the worst of the available options, like we did with the inclusionary zoning and like we will do in the future when Mayor Benienda seeks a third term. Thank you.
Holy moly.
Clip that.
Now, try to meet the resident now.
God damn.
I don't think I could write something better than that. That was beautiful.
That was
fucking
incredible.
beautiful.
Can everybody hear me?
I tip my hat to a real fucking wordsmith. That was
So I'm Laura
awesome.
Angelo. Like I said, I live at 44 Sun Valley Drive.
So,
And
I mean,
I'm speaking
listen.
in regards to item 9G.
They
the
might have
sprinkler.
they might have run one re-election, but at what cost?
I own Steel and
Because this is what
Wire
you're
on
getting.
Milbury Street
This
with
is
my
what you're
husband
getting.
Frank. We're the bar that is located at the
Dude.
spot that
Oh,
was
he'll
once
be here.
Nick's. And you may have seen us.
Mayor
mention
Benienda's third term. What a
along
nice
the White
closing
Eagle,
note.
who spoke a little bit earlier. So
That was Brian
we're
Dutremble.
also in
Yeah,
a
Brian
storage
Vivo in
building,
the
that
chat
dates
for
back to 1899,
for
but unlike the White Eagle,
all
we
of our
don't own the
commenters
property.
union folks.
We just have a 5-year lease. So
We just
Joe
feel
Petty,
that
absolutely exasperated, couldn't do anything to
a
stop it.
tax break
So
or some
sick.
kind of grant is not
Yes,
really going to help a business
Brian.
unless it owns the property that it's in.
He fucking destroyed
So I
his
just
ass
wanted
too.
that to be on the mind of the city
Brian,
council.
if you could see my
when
notebook
they're
right
going
now,
for,
I have that time stamped and
addressing this
underlined and
issue.
starred. I'm going to go back and clip that for sure.
Your final speaker.
Mr. Mayor, we also have Maureen. I think she's on the item regarding the National Grid on Apricot Street.
Yeah, I might have to lead off with that video.
Just,
We need to pull that clip and start looking for lines to turn into T-shirts.
Just the, like.
Maybe the whole thing.
Just
one
the whole,
big
just a
text
big block. Yeah.
Just the craft of it was stunning.
I could try.
I'll do a full transcription and just run it.
Yes. This is Maureen Urisi.
There was a child's voice.
I live on Main Street in Worcester,
Or a
and
ghost.
I am just speaking against the siting of a new phone pole on Apricot Street because the
Right.
site, as described by the consultant for National Grid, is within 50 feet of
Chamber of
Eversource's,
Commerce, answer the question. Did I follow you or did no jerks?
and
I still don't know
which
who you
is,
are.
according to Eversource, and posted clearly on the building, there's to be no digging within 50 feet, and to put in a new phone pole would require digging. And the gentleman from the consulting company
We got to stick
called
together,
me today,
everybody.
and he
Yeah.
was just going to
Brian
look
lifted
and
my
make sure
spirits
that
like nothing else
we
has
would,
post-election. That was
sign on
that was so
Eversource's
sick.
facility says,
Fired up, man.
and the package
I wish we could just
presented
pause the meeting and listen to it
to
again.
the council on October 24th has a photo.
It's just
of
so
the
well crafted. It's
facility,
going to get better every time.
signed directly
Depending
on
on how
it.
late
Okay,
we
thank
go,
you.
we can probably close the show with it.
National Grid is here, right? Do you want to come to
All right.
the phone and maybe address Maureen's question?
But if we're on a 5-hour stream like I feel, then fuck that.
Maybe that's the goal
Yeah, we'll
for the
play
next
next
2 years. We turn the council meeting into a parody show, and we become the serious
Wasn't
ones.
able to swing by to go verify the sign earlier today.
Yeah, right. We start conducting actual policy business here. I'll just shit tanking the city council meeting.
Installing a pole near any gas lines. When the crews actually go to install it, they're allowed to move it from the proposed location a couple feet just because of anything that could pop up in the field that we weren't able to see.
Buff Daddy can install a pole anywhere near me he wants.
Install a pole within, well, needs to be at least 1 foot.
As he's
away
done with
from any gas lines.
crew practice.
1 foot away.
Correct.
Just 2 years ago,
it is-
this guy was on top of the world, slugging beers at Zoomass Amherst.
Well, the
You know,
gas line
he's
goes
in Beta
directly
Thigh.
down
He's
Apricot
going to the
Street,
hockey
makes
games. He's
it
going to the
under
baseball. He's going to
under
every
the
single
grass
game.
on,
And now he's here, at the Worcester City Council,
to the roadbed.
talking about a fucking
And
telephone pole.
This is a pressure facility that
Go back,
takes
young
high
man.
pressure gas
Throw shot
lines
put again.
and breaks them
Right.
down into lower gas lines that serves the entire city.
No, don't worry though. In 6 years, you'll be eligible for the sort of job that makes it so you don't have to do
For
this.
not doing this correctly would mean the destruction of an entire neighborhood, including lives. This is a serious matter, and
They're really making this
You
kid go
know,
tit for tat with
not-
this woman, huh?
you know, one little gas line. There are several. All right.
Thank you.
And Bradley doesn't
And I
want to be
think the,
responsible for blowing up an entire
cities,
neighborhood. I mean, to be clear, right? That's not
Right.
what he signed up for.
Also
He's
need
just
to
he's
take a
just the
look
pole guy.
at this
Right.
if it's
He's got big
appropriate.
arms. He puts them in by hand. He's good at his job.
And do you know who his father is? Right?
I'm not an expert in what you're.
It's almost like they don't know who his dad is, right? Like that's, you
I know
know,
that Worcester does not
they're
have
making a
that
big
high
mistake
pressure
here.
gas line. We're not a community like Brookline, but I am concerned, nevertheless, that given the amount of gas leaks that we have in the city, there is still a lot of risk for neighbors.
That
So
explains the election.
Can you explain to me again what is it
Gas
that
leaks.
you said as far as your consultant?
All right.
No, I'm.
We do.
No, Mara, we're talking to National Grid. Hang on.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
National Grid.
Yeah, so that 1 foot
Oh my
clearance
God,
away from any gas pipes, that has more to do with energizing the pipes themselves as opposed to constructing near them. The only thing that's going to be in the ground is going to be the pole itself.
You gotta love energizing the pipes.
The equipment on the pole.
I love it when the pipes get energized, folks.
Pole, and they can angle that away.
Yeah, before a show, I got to energize my pipes.
On the side
I
of the
just
street
don't
where
have
the
it.
proposed pole is on, there's already an existing pole line. So I don't believe that there's going to be an existing gas pipe running that close, if it's that sensitive.
Yes, it is. The gas line does.
Hang on, hang on a second.
Yeah, hang on, Martin, just 1 second, through the chair. Do we have any representatives from Eversource here on the line?
No.
We do not. And have you consulted with Eversource?
I reached out to an Eversource engineer who works with the gas lines. He wasn't able to find the gas line in his GIS. The gas line exists, but I believe that specific property is owned by NSTAR, and he didn't have access to that at the time that I reached out.
Hang on, Martin,
NSTAR has not existed since 2012. So the name was changed to Eversource in 2015.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Aha,
And
gotcha.
there is a high-pressured line.
Yeah, we heard.
I spoke with the Eversource person.
Go ahead, Mark.
Through the chair, I would like to see a meeting between Eversource and you folks. I feel really uncomfortable voting for this right now, given that communication hasn't happened. If we can get something in writing from both yourself and specifically for Eversource confirming what you're saying. I'm not doubting what you're saying, but I would like to hear from the gas company, since they own the gas line, at the very least to give the property owner and the neighborhood some reassurance that this is not going to be a life and potentially damaging situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
I agree. That's what should happen.
Okay, Councilor Russell, do you have something? Are you all set?
Mr. Chairman,
Boy. Around the horn. Everyone talks. Let's go.
Everyone go tete-a-tete with Marla.
Everyone tell us how you feel about the utility.
But I think that this should be held at this point, and if they could work out.
Maybe you can come in the next meeting with the reports. I'll give it to the clerk so you can put it on the calendar for next Tuesday.
Okay. Next Tuesday might be a little quick.
Okay,
but
then
I'll do
2
it.
weeks from now, if you can. Okay. Okay, thank you. I appreciate you staying around.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Have a nice night.
Important.
Okay. Is that it? Okay, going to close this part of the meeting.
Wow.
And, we go back to the agenda. We're going to, there's 3 items.
1
that are
hour
gonna be
and
held
2
tonight.
minute public comment.
Councilor Rivera wants to hold item 6A.
A little less, probably about an hour.
And Councilor Carlson wants to hold 8.3A and 8.36B, all 3 under privilege. So we'll go to 6B to refer it to the planning board, 6C to 6F to refer it to the public work committee.
8.3A is the chief of staff for the city council.
Z, refer to traffic.
They're still trying to figure that one out. God, worst job in the fucking planet, if you ask me.
7D, refer to traffic and parking. And 7E to 7G, hearing set for November 21st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Gia?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera? Councilor Rivera?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't get it off mute. Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty?
Yes. 7H, Juana Pena and Patricia Hobbs request installation for temporary barriers at the Lamartine Street entrances of the parking lot located at 25 Mead Street during the nighttime. Send it out to the manager. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Gia?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
You know, I don't know if they might even talk about any of these things at
Councilor
length.
Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
The now next plan has the potential for real towny bullshit
We
stuff
are going
because they talk about zoning
8.3
reform.
is held. We're going to 8.4A.
Well, they're probably scared after Brian's
Information
comments to say
communication
anything
for
about it.
Worcester
They don't know
Now
where the
next
hell he's
plan.
coming from.
Shit, man, I would be.
Send that to development point. Okay, we'll send the ED. Is that fine? You want? Okay. Thank you for the report, though. Much appreciated.
And the more I look at
Motion
him, the
sent
better
to
that
D.
observation
Roll
becomes.
call.
Councilor Bergman? Councilor Bergman?
Although I'd much prefer
Yes.
if Joe Petty was played by
Councilor
Stephen
Calorio?
Root.
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
I believe you have my mayor seat.
Councilor
He also, not that I don't watch this show, but he's got
Yes.
strong
Councilor
bubbles
Rose?
from Trailer Park
Yes.
Boys.
Councilor
Like
Russell?
look.
Yes.
Oh,
Councilor
true, for
Toomey?
sure, for sure.
Mayor Petty?
Think it's a mix of the two.
8.8A, transfer information communication.
And the same sort of simple outlook.
Like you pushing his bottom lip out.
We can put it on file. That's okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Hang on, Councilor Merrill Carlson, followed by.
He fucking loves kitties.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'd like
Again,
for
I
this
don't
to
understand that
go-
reference. I've never watched the show.
That's crazy. You're an
Councilor
idiot.
Rivera?
Yeah, I just wanted to
don't
say, I
like
definitely,
Canadian
want to
people.
appreciate the construction that's happening.
It's crazy.
It's exciting to see, people want to see street repairs. We want to.
So while she goes, have you guys thought about who your porn accountability partner is going to be?
But we have to be really mindful.
Mine's
and
actually
I
Mike
feel
Johnson.
Like, I know that there was,
A
this
what?
is a lesson learned.
Dang.
I'm not going to try to hash out, but.
You know this
on
story, Bill?
election day,
The Speaker of the House and his
wasn't on the
son,
ballot, so it wasn't affecting me any, but
have software on their
on
computers so
election
that they
day,
can track
there was
each
supposed to be
other's
no construction, and
internet
I had
search
one of the
history so that
precincts
they
in the
don't
district
look at porn.
completely blocked with just one entrance and traffic.
I don't need to know shit like this, you know?
Crazy.
Like, I don't want to know shit like that.
Commissioner who really
Like, that just, like,
when I
destroyed a
called
childhood memory that I had.
and also our Worcester
That I'll never
PD
get back, and now I just have to
responded
know
very
that
quickly.
fact.
But
That's
somehow
fucking.
the communication never
There
got
you
to
go.
them, and it was just really, really chaotic for most of the morning.
Yeah, it's just religious
Um,
spyware.
And
It's
then
fucking
the
wild
other thing
because
is that we find that there's
it's the goddamn
construction that's
third
happened,
most powerful person
and
in the
it's
country,
really
and
infringing on people's way.
their son is
where they
monitoring all their
live,
communications to make sure they're not
back
looking
and
at porn
forth,
in
which
the
is understandable,
congressional
that's
men's
fine,
room.
We need the construction, but there is no warning.
Well, you know, silver lining.
Communities. I'm not sure
The
if
left
that's
is going to
every
mount a
community,
real
but
challenge
it's
to the
happening in
coming
district.
Christian
I feel
nationalist
like it's
takeover of the United
as we
States.
move forward,
Like, that's not going to happen easily, right?
and have these projects that we
Totally,
are
yeah.
having
Yeah, it's,
They'll
not,
put
it's
up a
gonna
fight.
it's gonna be a struggle. They won't just fundraise off the loss.
voter turnout, right, is almost like
No.
very suppressive.
They
to
wouldn't do
have
something
this
like that.
happen. I don't
They wouldn't do
think
something like lose on purpose and then
at all by
fundraise
any
off of
means,
it. They wouldn't
but
do
it
something
does
like that.
happen. It does
Could
affect in a great way. So I know that the mayor had actually
God.
been proactive in
Please,
putting an
no.
order
I
out
hate those
regarding
people.
this, but somehow
Dude, I want to move to
getting
Canada.
into some of the
Like,
exterior
it's legitimately a better
subcontractors.
place.
Yeah.
So I know that the city does some subcontracting and has
Well, that
other
people, you know,
companies,
people
and
give me
somehow
shit
that
all the time for not watching Trailer Park Boys. I didn't watch Letter
and also
Kenny
just
either,
alerting,
but
folks when things
I did
are
watch Kenny
happening on
versus
their
Spenny.
street,
So in some ways, I'm the
and,
coolest of all.
they aren't able
Oh, I
to
loved
now,
Kenny versus
so
Spenny.
they'll
That was a
know if
great
people are
show.
needing, a nurse to go visit
It's
them, if
fantastic.
they're
It's
gonna
all
be
on
getting
YouTube.
picked up for a medical appointment,
Good
and
to
not having that
know.
notification
Me and Jess
prior
watched
to does
the
not
GOAT
allow them to
episode
plan
a couple
accordingly.
weeks ago.
This has happened not just twice, but repeatedly.
There's one
and
where
we'd
they
like
have
to be
a
able to have
competition
this
to
addressed.
not get an
As we
erection.
have this report, which is exciting to see all the
That was a good one.
construction
That's a good
progress.
one.
We
The
want to make sure that
Two
we
can
are
stay in a haunted
addressing
house the
some of
longest.
the
That's a good one.
issues that are unintended consequences of this construction progress. So as it goes into committee, it'll be good to be able to maybe address some of these issues. Thank you very much.
This is Brian's speech.
Refer that to
I'll put it on a
Public Works.
t-shirt.
Roll call.
Yeah, I have to go look at those long T-shirts.
Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes. Next item is transmit information communication of the urban forestry master plan. We can send that to Parks. Roll call.
That document is so sick. It's just like trees are good,
Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
and then
Councilor Carlson?
it has the full URL of the hyperlink to some sort of plan that might exist, but Worcester's PDF system, you can't click on links
Russell? Yes.
because the PDFs are just flat, like PDF
Yes.
documents that you can't interact
Transmit
with.
information communication relative to the pavement management and selection of streets and sidewalks for resurfacing or reconstruction. Refer to the Public Works. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes, transmitting information communication relative to the number of confiscated off-highway vehicles, and then public safety. Okay, roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Listen, Eric, he gets hungry, okay?
Bergman? Okay. Councilor Gloria?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor McCarlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
That report is also 3 paragraphs long. It says nothing about why or what those even are.
8.1.
It's just like 55. We confiscated 55 of those things.
You want to talk about this? Is that okay, Dr. Castillo? Take those collectively, A and B, and 18 A and B. So
This is homelessness and
communication relative
opioid.
to different types of homelessness experienced by individuals in the city of Worcester, and also transferring information communication relative to updated concerning data and statistics collected relative to the locations of overdoses associated with opioids are coming in the city. Dr. Castillo, you want to give us a little overview and or we just ask questions?
Oh boy, this is going to be
I
fucking
get
tough.
ask questions. I get some questions, but
Mr. Mayor, I almost feel like, I'm sorry, could I say something? I don't know if taking these together.
let me take them separately.
Yeah, because I
You
really
start to
feel
relate
like
and
there's-
don't relate. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I feel like they're really different, and I think if we do that, it's only going to perpetuate the myth that people who are homeless are because they're struggling
Opiates,
with opiates,
Sure.
and it really
Oh
isn't.
my
And there's
God.
they're very different.
Okay, let's do 8A, then we'll do 8B after that.
Are you
Okay?
Thank
fucking
you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Jesus Christ.
So first one's regarding the unhoused people, and
The Democratic Party, people. In a nutshell. We can't insult the unhoused by making legitimate connections between 2 issues.
Yeah. But we can
Mr. Mayor?
make sure they stay unhoused.
As long as their tents get thrown out, it's all right by me.
the definition.
We can't have a moratorium on sweeps, but like, let's not insult the unhoused by talking about how they may or may not have addiction issues. That would be insulting.
Yeah.
Throwing their tents out, though,
Homeless.
keep it up.
Homeless. And I thought this was a really good report. And I think the question needs to be
Dude, it's like a
asked,
4-page report
people want to help. How can
with no suggested solutions. Why are we? Oh my God.
people in the community can help you? That was the question that was asked tonight. I hope the city of Worcester. And also regarding homelessness, maybe Mr. Manager after that, talk about the emergency shelter. What's the time frame maybe for that? And what's the time frame for a day center here in the city of Worcester? And some of the strategies around this. And I know people shouldn't think we're not doing anything on this because I know you've dedicated, the public health department has dedicated, and Soraya Rivera has dedicated as chair of public health a lot
Right.
of time.
It's about the work the officials have put in.
It's like you can never get ahead. So,
That's the important part.
Mr. Manager, Dr. Castillo.
Through the mayor. I want to start that we have done a lot of work, certainly in both homelessness and addiction in the community. I'll start with it with addiction, that substance use that we
So sick that she's just
certainly
ignoring
have known that
the
last
request
couple
to
months,
differentiate the
retail
reports.
closing,
Yeah, I'll start with addiction.
working with CHL to try to speed it up and be able to bring the best care possible through CHL, and certainly working with the other facilities to be able to help now that we have those issues. And so, but we have an opioid task force. I think the main thing that I want to say is that we need to be able to collaborate. I always talk about what happened during COVID, that we all sort of worked together, and we were able to accomplish a lot during COVID. And I think my goal and trying to meet with different people in the community to be able to say, if we all sat down together and sort of compared notes, where are the gaps, and tried to figure that out, I think we can really make some dents in what's happening there. And I'm hoping to be able to do that. Again, we have an opioid task force where we try to work some of the issues, but we're missing people, and trying to get everybody together in that process is important. With respect to homelessness, I think you know that we have the Housing First Coordinating Council that really has looked at that, and At least, we have different subcommittees, whether it's outreach, whether it's shelter, and trying to figure out, again, how we move forward. We certainly are looking into this winter. We have shelter plans for this winter, hopefully starting on December 1st.
For roughly half of the chronically unhoused.
Also looking at other entities that may help, a resource center, certainly looking at trying to get people together to be able to look at properties, buy properties for housing. It's not without, I think that's the main topic that we talk about in Health and Human Services, in collaboration with all the departments to figure out how we work together.
Thank you. So you'll take care of the meeting with the community people who are here tonight and try to.
Yes.
Okay. Then CHL timeline. Do we have a timeline? I know we did the tour.
They were
pretty much almost ready to go, I thought maybe.
They were at the Board of Health a week ago, I think, and updated us. It may take a number of months still to be able to get that up and running. You can still go into Community Health Link, into the urgent care. They will find you somebody. We talked about possibly giving medication treatment when somebody walks into the urgent care, at least to stabilize people and then get.
I love just staring at a gaping hole in the social safety net, like right in front of you, in the way that people represent it.
This is like the perfect storm when you read your report. You talk about 1.7% to 0.5%.
Like, she did not bring up the fact that there's an extreme shortage of beds heading into this winter. She just said that we need to work together and sit down.
City of Massachusetts.
And we're
Both of those
working,
terms are completely meaningless.
Not to say that we're not thinking about that and trying to move and figure out. I think one of the meetings that we've been having.
Yeah, you're trying to move, right?
We've met with Mahasa to find somebody who can give us an estimate of how fast we need to do housing and what's the number of housing that we need year after year.
You've been talking to somebody to have a meeting about
First was in
how quickly you
2017, our
need to
coordinating
move.
council, we said 100.
You have the data from CMHA.
I mean, they haven't come to
It's
fruition.
getting cold right now.
We've all been in the process. We didn't have the vouchers. The governor is putting the vouchers out now, and hopefully those.
There's nowhere for people to go. Why is she talking like
They
this?
didn't have all the vouchers.
This
so
is a
hopefully
very serious problem, and she's not bringing up the problem.
to do that. We have 90 units of permanent supportive housing in the hotel on Oriole. Hopefully that will come to fruition.
That's not online. It's not going to be online for a couple fucking years.
Those are
Was delayed by Kenny Merrill Carlson on purpose.
December 1st with the emergency.
That is an abstract concern. Dude, this shit makes me so mad.
I think we're hoping it's December 1st.
And
For what?
We're still working for a date. We're still looking.
Which emergency shelter?
What's December 1st?
Timeline to get an
Appreciate the council,
emergency
Mayor, you are
shelter
correct. We are
on board.
working on a day center. Dr. Castillo and I had the pleasure of going to the city of Quincy, to kind of look at a model that was, it included shelter, day resource center, and permanent supportive housing all in one. It's actually right across from the police station that they're building in Quincy, not Chelsea, Quincy. And so we're looking at options. We've looked at different properties. One of the properties that we think is a great property, the owner, is asking for a lot of money. And so the agency and the provider that we're working with would have to come up with that acquisition dollars. We then reached out to the state.
Right. It's not like we have any unappropriated ARPA funds
redevelopment dollars. The state is willing to support.
to address an immediate
so we're trying
need
to put all the pieces
related to
together,
the pandemic
with
or anything
state
like
and
that.
federal sources to kind of help us.
It's the
But
nonprofit
again,
that has to foot the fucking
this
bill.
provider agency has to do their due diligence and working with the owner to try to acquire the property. I think the interest is there, and our ability to work with them, and like I said, state officials and others are willing to contribute to this effort. It's just going to take a multi-pronged approach to it, and we're hopeful that in the next few weeks we'll be able to open up a shelter again. The provider's working very closely, trying to hire staff, get everybody going.
Where?
To open up the shelter in the city for the emergency shelter during the winter. We know, it's cold. Yesterday was snowing, something that, a little bit unexpected. So we need to kind of work a little bit quicker here to make sure we activate that.
Well, thank you, and I know this is a huge issue here in the city and state and to the country, and I just want to thank everything you're doing. Thank you for the report. Hopefully we can move this forward with the different shelters that we need here in the city. So thank you, Dr. Castillo.
Thank you.
The rest of the goddamn year, they fucking
Councilor
fight these
Bailey, followed by
shelters
Councilor
tooth and
Toomey.
nail.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. One of the reasons I asked for the report and why I felt it was important to have them separately, because they are separate, they are different. One can affect the other, but one of the things that I was trying to get to when I requested this report is to understand the complexity of homelessness. That when we think of homelessness, we're thinking of somebody on the streets who kind of caused themselves to be there for some reason, right? We have this like blaming mentality and pushing a shopping cart. And although there are some folks that we see on the streets, the reality is that that's not just everything. And so I think it's really important to understand that when we talk about homelessness, we're talking about what's called unaccompanied adults.
The stereotype in my mind, personally,
we're
is not
talking
the complete
about,
picture of the issue.
Women who
Dude,
have
this is
been
crazy.
Victims of abuse. We're talking about elders. We're seeing an astronomical amount of elders that as they're aging, they are unable to get on the list for housing. They're retiring, their income has changed, they can no longer afford a regular market rate apartment. We're seeing that more and more. I've seen people who, as they're slightly aging, not really entering into the full elderly category, but they have developed illnesses such as cancer, Parkinson's. I recently worked with a woman who was diagnosed with Parkinson's, someone who had dedicated quite a bit to this community. And when she was diagnosed with Parkinson's, she was pretty advanced and led her to not be able to work.
Yeah, St. Blossoms, that's the thing that really fucking
homeless,
grinds my
which
gears.
is like, if that happened to her, that can happen to any one of us kind of thing. Another woman who had always been working and then all of a sudden had cancer and suffered a heart attack.
It's like, listen, not everyone without housing is subhuman, like we all assume. There are some who are human beings. It's crazy, dude. It's like absolutely psychotic.
On their own. There's much more stories like that and others. And so the understanding that we have to deal with these differently and it's complex, right? I can't have someone who's an elder. Imagine if I'm sending your grandmother to the open shelter that we have at Smock. No shade on Smock. I really,
my
am
grandmother's
grateful
dead, so you
for
can't do
them
that.
to make sure that no one is staying outside. But number one, we also built a building. There was a building that was built for 25 people. It was unrealistic. It was unsustainable and unrealistic, and the building is feeling it. Plus, also, it shouldn't be one agency that should be the end all be all to resolve homelessness. And so there is a no touch policy there, obviously. So if there's some people who are elderly and need some assistance, that's problematic. We're looking at young people from the LGBTQ community also struggling and seeing this level of homelessness. So we can go on and on in regards to, just circumstance that people may have just lost their job. Right now, people selling their property. And now, we're looking at this situation. I have a couple that I know that they work. The husband's on disability. The wife works quite extensively. And had to leave their apartment and have been in and out of hotel and couch surfing. There are circumstances that right now that we're seeing because of the economy, because of the changes that we're seeing, the housing stock, so many things that we have. And yes, we have our chronic homeless folks who have in and out of homelessness, and there's all these criteria. So I think that when we hear this, right, the unhoused and homeless, we need to think about these dynamics and how complex this is. In many ways, we're looking at new arrivals, and they're not the ones just couldn't. The housing crisis was happening before the new arrivals came, so I think it's unfair to just kind of blame everything on them. And there are many people from this community. One of the issues that I continue to talk about is that our surrounding towns do not take their weight and do not take the responsibility of them coming on board to build adequate affordable housing just for elders and veterans. We want to talk about all the facts and how we want to support our elderly. And
The pervasive surrounding towns narrative, when you talk about unhoused issue, is like the most insidious fucking thing in the world. It's so crazy. And it's like consensus among everyone I've heard speak that's in and around City Hall. It's like,
and
fucking,
challenging, and this is
I
where
don't
we're
know.
seeing the crunch. So there's a lot of moving pieces
Super
to
fucking
this.
frustrating.
And I think that this is really important to understand, which is why I wanted this report. And would like to
And you
see
know,
some expansion on this
the simple
report
thing
to
is,
be
I
able
think
to
it's a
kind of
trade-off.
look at
Like,
some of the dynamics to
okay,
continue
fine,
to
we take their
contribute
unhoused people,
to the
but they
fact
take
that
all our
homelessness,
cops
as I
and
talked
house
about
them.
today,
So,
as we move forward,
True, true.
you know,
as a
I'd
we
take that
need to
trade
look at
every
all of
fucking
these
day.
factors. We need to understand. I really want to appreciate.
Well, I mean, like the obvious subtext is that
city manager
we
work
can't do too much
me,
more than the surrounding
that task force
towns
working on
to help these
specifically
people,
dealing with the chronic homeless.
because
And
otherwise
we had
we'll
a
just
very good
get
plan,
more
and
of
then
them.
COVID hit,
Which is
and
like an underlying assumption that's very obvious and glaring in the way that like these people talk
funding,
about this.
so many things that were already set in
And
motion.
that's
So really
so
glad that
fucked
Blue
up,
Street is up
you
and
know?
running. But we
Also,
have two other projects that are still pending that should have
like,
been up and
just
already
the idea that they're their
housing
people, you
people
know?
at this time.
It's like,
with
well,
these
they live here, there
micro-units.
are
So there's
people now.
a lot of
And
factors coming into play right now. And
we
so
have
I
a
think
duty
that I
to the
wanted to be
people in
able
this
to have
city.
this, to
And it
have
doesn't
a
matter
better
how they got here or when they got
understanding
here.
as a community.
They're
Right.
here.
Homelessness is what it
They're
is
part
to
of our
have someone
community
that's
now.
unhoused at different categories. It's not one size fits all.
Also,
It's not
did you
apples
do a
to
census
apples.
of
And so I
unhoused
think it's
people
really
and
important that we as a council
how and when they
understand
got
that
to
because it's
to
all
Worcester?
of these have to be dealt with very differently.
Because that's what they really want
and they all
is
need
just like
the
Fred
human
Durst in that Woodstock 99 documentary going, it's
I
not my
appreciate
fault,
this report.
right?
Would like
And
to
that like
see
justifies
a little
them
bit
not
more
having to do
expansion
anything.
on this report.
That's
And
what they
then
really
as we
want.
move forward, that we begin to look at strategies to address the different aspects of what the challenges that we're
Soraya
facing
hasn't so
in
far
regards to
said
homelessness.
one thing
I
she
guess
would like
I
to
don't
see
know if you want me to
happen
talk about
that
the issue
would
of the
help.
overdoses, but I'm going to have an order and I'll
She's
talk
just
about it
explained
then at the time. Thank
We'll,
you.
we'll go with that next.
which
Councilor
types of unhoused people deserve
Thank you,
help.
Mr. Chair.
It's so
Day
fucked,
basis,
dude.
My day job, I work with trying to assist incarcerated individuals.
Yo, crazy.
Have
What an
plans
incredible
for
claim.
relief, and also for those who have been previously incarcerated, trying to assist them in finding housing and IDs and all of those things. And I have to tell you that it's always has been difficult trying to find housing, SROs, things that people can afford. We are able to get some folks into.
I'm talking about when they're
pay for 56
talking
days
about
of
like what we're
sober
responsible
home,
for.
but
How,
the
like
sober
I
homes
understand
are
that they've done.
so they're
They
a
know,
waiting list.
they
We
have a
have
good
people
idea
that
of where
recently,
Right.
I have
people
several
are coming
clients
from,
that
but
had no place to
the
go.
idea
And-
that when we're talking about like, oh well, this
shelters
part we
to,
have to deal with, and this part we
go
don't have to
anywhere
deal
and
with,
freezing.
it doesn't
So, I
matter
mean, these are
to
people
me
who,
when
are trying to
Yeah.
write their life.
I
who
don't want to
are
get
trying
into a
to
fight
help
about it or
them.
anything,
So
but that's not what
use
I was saying, man.
citizen.
Mom.
And it's so difficult because we're taking very vulnerable people,
Layering
putting them back into a vulnerable
identity groups
situation.
on top of unhoused
Many of
people to
the
designate which ones
men that
deserve
I
help
work with
and which ones don't.
have done, great job in recovery, and while they were
She didn't make any
incarcerated,
fucking
and also when
concrete
they come
suggestions
out,
for what
but
we should do
putting
different.
them in this position where we don't have a place for them to live, even temporarily.
And then this followed up by Kay Toomey thinking that her day job
creates
helps
so much more
unhoused people.
opportunity for them to fall right back into
Is
that
just,
hopelessness,
this is going to break
back
my
into,
fucking, this is going to break my
things.
brain.
So, I'm grateful for the efforts, but I think we can all agree that we
Wow,
need
that's
to do
true,
a lot
Yanni.
more.
Good
and
catch.
It is very
They are
frustrating
watching.
and heartbreaking for people to see the disappointment and in their eyes, and we're just trying to do everything we can to help them. So I certainly
Yeah.
would advocate
After you ruined them on purpose.
perhaps with some of the empty buildings that we have.
Not you
now,
specifically, but the
city,
thing that pays your bills.
we can talk to some of the landlords, and I know there are incentives in the Economic Development Office for upgrading buildings for, Mr. Dunn, could you, through you, Mr. Chair, could Mr. Dunn answer that, what those opportunities are for people to assist them? Because I don't want to get the numbers wrong. So.
What? That's not his job. He doesn't deal with housing vouchers. What is?
Sure, through the chair to the councilor. So we have an entire portfolio of programs, some of which target potential rehabilitation needs, whether it's upgrading for code compliance in these units that might be vacant currently. And then one program in particular that I think you might be alluding to, we have a partnership with CMHA and WCHR in terms of a landlord incentive program to help folks get into those units that might need assistance, whether they have a voucher or other kinds of sort of a subsidy that helps them pay their rent. So we've tried to come up with a variety of different tools in the toolbox to help kind of address a lot of the different challenges.
The amount of people I've talked to who live in tents and have housing vouchers that they just can't use is crazy. It's like almost all of them.
I think it's been successful. I don't have, all the kind of data in front of me, but I think it's been a successful program so far.
I wonder if we could get a report on that through you, Mr. Chair, and also if we could make an effort to reach out to the landlord community again and see if we can't let perhaps new landlords know about it, or people who are looking to purchase a property for that, because I think that keeping it in front of people.
Dude, the landlord community thinking they're going to help solve this problem? That's
I appreciate all the work.
when there's 0.5% vacancy right now.
To, public health.
You can't get an apartment if you're fucking employed by Raytheon, dude. Like, that's not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We know that affordability is a #1 issue here in the city. I've recently spoken with some mental health clinicians who are reporting that 70% of the folks that they're
I was gonna say
seeing
he looks like he's going to a funeral, but that is a fucking fit. I'm gonna steal that look. That's a hot look.
Are revolving around the issue of affordability.
Something Billy Joe Armstrong would wear.
Another one of my idols. Thank you.
The increasing challenges that are not followed with increase in wages. And these are real life challenges. And when I look at this particular report, Mr. Chairman, our shelters are full. Our family shelters are full. We have some definitions here of the various aspects or parameters of definitions of unsheltered situations, of those who are seen and those who are unseen in terms of being without a home.
I fucking hate this, dude.
My question to the chair, to the administration is, do we have an actual homeless strategic plan in place?
Dr. Castillo?
And has it been rendered to writing? Is it codified in any form or fashion? What exactly is our strategic plan? And if it's not been codified or rendered to writing, what is the time frame to do exactly that, through the chair?
Mr. Manager?
Through chair to the council, one of the plans that was established years ago, I believe in 2018, was the Housing First Solutions Task Force created a plan to address chronic homelessness in the city by putting together plans with the Health Foundation and the state and others to fund projects such like the Councilor Rivera was alluding to, Lewis Street.
You're going to have to move a lot of action figures.
And we, in discussions with Dr. Castillo and myself in the past couple of weeks, we actually spoke to Hasa to kind of think through about where are we at now and where do we need to be. And so we put together, we actually put in motion the concept to start to create a new strategic plan around this effort. And so Hasa is actually going to be reaching out to one of the experts out of Rutgers University to kind of help support this. They're going to be putting together a proposal to me in terms of what that cost is for us to start putting this, this framework together and start putting these plans.
Wonder why this isn't in the report.
Plan so that then we can come back to the council, inform the council, let the council and community know what the current need is, what we need to do, what resources are required to kind of move forward, and have.
They've built no permanent supportive housing since 2018, and that's what the entire Housing First concept relies on.
And who's that
And every single proposal for those sort of units gets fought by the townies successfully.
Dr. Steele?
We can't even fucking build
Through
spare
the
bedrooms
mayor,
in the city.
Through the chair to the city council. Mahasa is Massachusetts Housing Association. It's a statewide agency who does all their work on housing.
Right.
Joe
Housing
Finn
first
is
without the
who's
permanent
been
housing
working, who
is
has
just
been the head of Mahasa for
doing
some time.
less.
Yeah.
And
Doesn't that make it
doing
housing
less.
last?
as the manager said, to really start predicting.
What if we were
like-
super ironic about the concept of housing first?
Build and give us that strategic plan.
And like
I think
fucking
one of
people
the
like Jose
things we
Rivera
did when
campaigned
we,
on that. They were like, we don't
started
need
the
to be
Housing First
building
Coordinating Council in
temporary shelters. We're
2017
gonna
is
do
that was-
permanent supportive
been
housing.
part of that's been the strategic plan, and that's
It's a
where
fucking
103
false
units,
dichotomy.
came about.
And you don't care about
that's
either of them.
Still is the 103 units that we're working on at this present time, and then sort of looking
That you've
forward
been working
to
on for
um,
fucking
seeing what we need to build. And
5
somebody, I
years.
think it was Tufts. I don't know if it's
Dude.
who's supposed to be.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The homelessness stuff is a real
time
sore
yet,
spot for
we've been
me.
Talking about
It's
day
like
centers,
something so horrible that you
talking
know
about
so much
resource-
about, and then you hear the way that these
resource
people
centers
talk about it.
for years
It's like,
now. For years,
Whew.
we've been talking about the fact that we are in the midst of a housing crisis.
infuriating.
We've had the administration come at one point indicating that it's housing first, not shelters, Mr. Chairman. These sorts of things that we're talking about today are quite a ways off. We need to develop a homeless strategic plan that includes long-term and short-term solutions, Mr. Chairman. We need to have a strategic plan that expands our field-based services, Mr. Chairman.
System,
We're
we gotta
doing-
meet up and talk about
we're
your experience
doing
for real.
A number
I've been meaning
of
to do that
things
for a long time.
as relates to this challenge that's not specific to Worcester. But we need to do more, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to file an order that we establish in short order a homeless strategic plan, and that plan be reported back to the city council. What I know that we can't do is simply rely on the housing piece. Through the chair to the administration, what's the current status of a housing task force? Is it back up and running? Where are we at with that? Through the chair.
Dr. Castillo.
Through the counselor. The Housing First Coordinating Council has been going on since 2017 until present. It's divided into subgroups, starting with housing, outreach, sheltering, and so looking at all the different pieces. When we look at outreach, all the different groups that do outreach compare notes, making sure that they are all seeing everybody who's out in encampments or out in the community who are needing assistance. The shelter groups that tries to work together to figure out certainly what is needed for shelter, what are some of the issues regarding sheltering. One of the things that we just brought up most recently is a clinic at Smock looking at healthcare for people who are in the shelters. And even though there is a health center right next to it, bringing care to them is the most crucial thing. And so we're trying to do that. We have regular meetings just to discuss what's happening in the shelters, what kinds.
There are
who they seeing,
doctors who go to
overdoses,
encampments to
working
do
through
that.
process. So I think this task
And
force
it
is a
interrupts that
strategic
work
plan, how we
when
all,
you destroy the camps
community
because they can't
works
find the people
together,
anymore.
and the different agencies sit on this task force to discuss
And they're even more distrustful.
everything regarding homelessness in our community.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think that rendering to writing a homeless strategic plan will be helpful for all, so that we can condense and synthesize, as we did with the mitigation requests for mitigating the and identifying the resources to mitigate gentrification was helpful for the public and helpful for the community and helpful for us as city councilors, Mr. Chairman.
When did they do
I
that?
know that I've been pushing for quite some time for increasing in staffing in Health and Human Services. No budget is going to be coming up at some point in the coming weeks and months. I'm going to go on record again to indicate I believe this is one of the lower funded departments we have here in the city of Worcester, and I would like to see that increase significantly with a strategic plan around not just housing, all the other additional social ills that are coming before us. I know that we are having social workers come on board, but there's a lot of challenges here, Mr. Chairman, and we need more resources. We have to dedicate more resources. Through the chair to the administration, can you share a little bit about specifics related to conversations and negotiations with our federal elected officials pertaining to funding and resources? Can you give us an idea of what those discussions are entailing at this time? Through the chair.
Mr. Manager.
Through the chair to the council, right now our conversations have been with the state officials in discussing some of these projects like the Day Resource Center.
Oh, you kept Ed's phone number. Cool.
And identifying some resources there. And also, you know, Maddie, the Dr. Castillo.
When I walked away, did that come up at all? The conversation about the state resources and like the family shelters being already at capacity?
In housing, and that's where we look at
having hit their ceiling.
Literally, Maddie Castillo didn't even bring it up. She just said that we're trying, basically.
So the engagement is there, the conversations are there.
That's when I started spinning out. Because no one has talked about what they plan to do about being literally having 50% of what they need to house people through the winter.
Connecting with individuals, constantly bringing ideas and solutions to try to kind of deal with the situation that we have at hand. But it, like Dr. Castillo said, it's not just city government doing this work. It's everybody collectively, from us, from the chief's office, from the providers, from
the chief's office really helps. You're right.
Everyone collectively is what's going to help us solve this, and I think we're doing a great job in kind of doing that and meeting with a lot of folks and putting these things together. And that's why the Mahasik plan, looking at the future, will help give us indication of where we put our dollars, where we put our investments, and where we put our
bullshit.
Could you just clarify what's been the engagement with our federal partners?
Through chair to the council, right now I have not engaged directly with the federal partners because right now the need in terms of what we're looking for is something that we don't have a clear direction or plan for investing in housing and things of that nature. We've made some adjustments through the housing.
What the fuck does that mean?
And we've made some engagements there, but not directly right now in regards to the homeless.
So you just lied?
We certainly need more boots on the ground from the city side. I know it's definitely an intersection between the private sector, the public sector, and nonprofits, our state partners, and we need our federal partners. Governor has declared a state of emergency. She's indicating that the shelters are full. I would recommend to the administration that we reach out and not wait to our federal partners, Mr. Chairman. You know, as we know, there's a whole host of factors that factor into folks who are unsheltered. We also know that, as mentioned, the seniors here, we're seeing an uptick in their displacement, being forced to leave their hometown. Young folks being forced to leave their hometown because they can't afford to build lives here.
Actually, that might only be the only positive part of the situation, is that people are being forced to leave Worcester.
That folks are also
good for you.
Worried about,
you did it. You made it out alive.
You got the push you needed. Proud of you.
They're fearful of an unsustainable and unaffordable rent increase, Mr. Chairman. And I want to mention in closing, as a social worker and as a city councilor, I bear witness on a daily basis to the pernicious, far-reaching impact of housing instability on our children and on our families. Our parents are forced to work 3 or 4 more jobs a day. They're burnt out and exhausted. Rates of childhood anxiety and secondary trauma are soaring. It's disabling and disruptive. We're having kids uprooted from their schools because they can't find their way there. You know, these are implications for physical and mental health. I'm wrapping up. And we need to do what we can to stabilize the situation. You know, Mr. Chairman, I recently bumped into an elder who's well known in our community in the bank, and he indicated his rent increased $500 a month. And he was taking the last of his savings out to pay for that. And that disruption of our multi-generational families, Mr. Chairman, is going to have and is having significant societal consequences. So this isn't sort of pointing the finger, we're not doing enough. It's let's put our heads together, let's do more, let's have a plan that we can go back to and say, hey, this is where we're at and this is where we're going, because we've been talking about day centers and day treatment centers for years now. Mr. Chairman, my last question to the chair, to the administration. I know that we have buildings. I know auditorium, we have R&V, we have all sorts of buildings in the city that are vacant. Do we have a time frame by which you anticipate we will realize this sort of a resource for the folks and populations that we're talking about, through the chair?
Through the chair to the council, based on the proposal that was provided to me by the provider who is interested in moving forward, the concept of the Day Resource Center, based on their concept is about 2 years.
I'm sorry, what was the last piece?
It's about 2 years.
2 years. Mr. Chairman, again.
Can you wrap up?
Yes, I apologize, but we heard tonight from folks who want to be engaged. Are we engaging with folks with our planning in our groups? Are we engaging enough, or are we engaging at all with those folks who have the lived experience of homelessness or the past lived experience of homelessness, as mentioned earlier with items?
Yeah, we're throwing out their tents.
Are we doing that on the housing front through the administration? Are we including them in these meetings and in these intersections that we're talking about, and to what degree?
No, we're not.
Dr. Castillo?
Through the chair to the counselor, yes, we are engaging them. I don't know if you know that that's part of what I've done throughout my life, and up until recently that I've been providing healthcare to people suffering with addiction. I also want to just state, if that's homeless, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant with the homeless. I know about the subsection.
85% of the people that I've treated have always been people with homeless.
Separated it.
Okay, we're
So I
gonna
apologize,
wrap it
but
up
they
now.
separated, so I was trying to separate it.
Why is Joe in such a rush to move past this?
I don't know.
There is a piece of all of us working together.
Why can't anyone agree on whether or not they separated the homelessness from
communicating,
addiction?
Yeah.
educating the community about
And how come no one is talking about the real issue
homeless,
here?
or providing a day resource for
Which is
homelessness
Holden.
is incredibly important.
Dude,
I
shut
think
up.
our
I'm gonna get
challenge is not only just
I'm very easy to
finding
troll
the
right now.
place, but
I'll
also
fucking.
acceptance in the community to have the place.
Sorry.
That is probably the biggest
Like, I got legitimately
and,
mad
and
when
when
you
I
said
say that, I want everybody to embrace that we need to be able to do that. And with the
I'm sorry,
support
Bill. I
not
am,
only of the
of course, a
community,
little
but also
stinker.
of everyone here.
And
that
that's
if
why I
we
love
move
you, man.
somewhere, we say we're going to put it. How is everybody going
Repping
to
that comment,
support
there's
that?
union shirts so
I
hard.
think we've had challenges with everything from
Very
Blessed
comfortable,
Sacrament
looks
when we've
good.
done it, that there are providers who don't want to get involved anymore because of that.
Jessica got
and
a Nico
push
shirt,
to
and
that
it looks
process and say that
incredible.
that's something that's needed.
Yeah, I'm dying
And
to
so
see it.
I think it's been a challenge to people in the community when we try to engage them to say, you know, are you interested in doing a shelter? Are you interested in doing housing? Even family housing becomes an issue.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. Your time is up.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just maybe suspend rules, I just want to respond to that. It's important. If we need a motion to suspend, I'll file it. I need about 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'll give you 40 seconds.
Okay, I'll put in less. Really quickly, the last time that I spoke on that particular matter that Dr. Castillo is referencing, I talked about the need for us as a council to come together when we're having those shelters, when we're having those opportunities. We talked about districts 2 and 4 having difficulty, those district councilors and District 1, in having those there. And we as a council, when we decide where the next resource will be, if it's in 3, if it's in 5, wherever it is, we need to support that council. We need to stand together. That's the only way we're going to save lives. And it might be difficult for folks to hear, but if we can't stand together, we're going to lose people.
Thank you. Okay, we are going, Council Russell, followed by Council.
Why the fuck would it matter? What council district?
Dr. Castillo, you referred to a location. Does it have to be one location? We've talked on this council floor so many times, and you know, about it being in this corner of the city or that corner of the city, in this neighborhood or that neighborhood.
Dude, what did I say? You're just gonna
Is there a
argue about
reason
where.
why it has to be one facility. Through you, Mr. Chairman, first of all, how many prospective guests or residents or folks in need for Blessed Sacrament last year? Was it like around 60 or so at a peak? Night?
60.
Okay, so if it was that, why not have 5 locations? Or is it really goof up the providing of the services to have it split up that much?
Through the chair to the counselor, we have a staffing shortage throughout the city.
This is an example of the city council being less than useless.
You can go to nonprofits, you can go to hospitals, you can't.
This is getting in the way of something
if you
useful.
have a location,
That they have to just appease their fucking egos by making sure it goes in the right city council district. It doesn't fucking matter where it goes.
30 as you do as the 60. So staffing becomes the major issue why
Like he said 5 locations for a reason. He's like, why don't we just do one for each council district? Like it's the council district that's the important part. And not getting enough beds so people don't die in the fucking street. Jesus Christ, dude. Like this is so embarrassing.
Related to just shelters. The day resource center.
But the thing about it is, again, it's about the idea that he's using that as a tactic to deflect and to shut down responsibility or to not take action. It's not about whether or not it's true that it would be better to have. Of course, it would be better to have multiple locations. But the fact of the matter is, George Russell isn't doing that because he knows anything about this or cares anything about it really, beyond in the abstract. Just a way to stop doing it.
What we're saying is if
He's trying to solve the issue of which councilor is most personally miffed by the inclusion of a temporary homeless shelter in their council district.
As opposed to one with 60, we would need 5 times the staff.
Through the chair, yes. To the counselor, yes.
So I understand that.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what he's saying. I don't know. I don't want to get
I'm not even saying that he doesn't give a shit. But what I'm saying is he's not doing anything about it.
Well, he might give a shit, but he gives a shit more about making sure that he doesn't lose the next election because he has to then litigate where in his district something will be cited.
Right? And so the City Now Office of Livable Communities was able to come through with that money. And it cost a lot. It cost in terms of staffing, it cost in terms of the food, it cost in terms of the wraparound services. And so I guess I want to ask a question just so that it's clear for the public listening. When we talk about the plan that tangible goals and metrics by which we can go by to either build housing, more shelters, or prevent people from falling into homelessness, where does that money come from? How do we resource those plans? Because it's nice to have them, but how do we resource them?
Or through the chair. Through the chair to the counselor, I think we would go to DHCD, which is now Housing and Livable Communities. There is funding now for shelters. The problem is actually where.
Mr. Manager.
In addition to that, to the chair, to the council, in addition to that,
I just don't know how to turn my camera off.
ESG money, home dollars, et cetera, that we try to leverage some of those federal resources to support some of the agencies and the work that they do.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Manager, and thank you, Dr. Castillo. We're on the verge of potentially of a shutdown of the government on November 17th. And what we're seeing at the national level is a intentional effort to cut opioid treatment, mental health, substance abuse, any monies that goes towards shelters, cut vouchers, all that stuff that sustains our community members. And so I guess
professionally, I do hold a microphone though, so it's not a huge.
The incentive program that we have, the affordable, the occurring preservation of.
It is actually resting on my body.
Doesn't cover and doesn't. It's not intended to end and to support folks who are homeless. So let's not even make that as a solution to either making homelessness as brief as possible. How long does it take to put a permanent supportive housing together?
Through the chair to the counselor, years. I know that we worked on the Quality Inn Hotel probably pre-COVID, and we're still I think they've purchased the place and now they have to put it into, to rehab it and do the things that need to be up to standard.
And to
Mr.
put that
Manager?
project
No.
together, and I know the city manager was heavily involved with that, took state dollars, it took a lot of meetings, it took a lot of packages and timing and processes to come together. So what I'm trying to illustrate with that example is that, you know, these projects, including the one on Stafford Street in my district, 19, I think it's permanent supportive housing, take years. And if you have emergencies and loss of or change of hands in transfer, it takes even longer. And so my next question is, how many beds are we short of right now, as far as you can estimate?
Thank you.
Probably around 200.
Probably around 200. And the emergency shelter that we're trying to set up is probably going to be around 60, 65. That means that at any given night in Worcester or any given month, we might have upwards of 500, 600 folks who are experiencing homelessness. I'm only talking about individuals. This doesn't count the families that now cannot even enter the shelter system. I'm going in this line of questioning because I want folks to understand the bigger picture here. The state cut rental assistance to $7,500. They also prevented people from accessing that support by putting additional barriers in place, while luxury housing keeps getting millions and millions of dollars. Let me make it clear, I am all for all sorts of housing because we need them. That's how the prices come down. But what I'm trying to illustrate with these examples is that not only are our hands tied as a municipality, we are seeing an investment up to here for luxury and market rate housing, and up to here for permanent supportive housing and deeply affordable housing. And so my question is, because this is the question that I get asked all the time, Mr. Manager, what is the role of the city council? Policy is a different issue, but what is the role of the city council to actually resource from our tax dollars any of these projects? So what I'm trying to illustrate to the public is that we're dependent on Congress and we're dependent on the state. And so if people ask me, what is the city council's role? I would like to have a clear answer to people so that people understand what we are able and not able to do.
Mr. Manager?
Man, what a question, huh? I think that it's a question that requires many approaches. One is
the fuck does that mean?
How do I lie here?
Right, and council does that.
I'm gonna lie in a couple different ways, and I'll just see which one sticks.
Together. And in addition to that is submitting requests.
Allow me to climb up on this log rolling in a river.
Leverage.
Try and stay upright for 2 minutes here.
Increase some of that funding here in the city. Another tool is how do we, hold some of the developers accountable? And we've been able to do some of that through our TIF ordinances and all this, some of the other amendments that the policies that the council has created here as well. So it's it's a multi-pronged approach.
Oh, that's so insulting.
Once there's pinpoints or
now you talk about holding developers accountable.
Federal dollars are not coming in as much as we anticipate. Even though the state is doing everything they can to put out some monies out to the communities, at the end of the day, a lot of these developments, whether it's permanent supportive housing, or even any other developer, or a 3-decker, or even Lewis Street, Worcester Housing Authority, all of that requires private investors to invest money. The city doesn't take $26 million and invest in permanent supportive housing. We leverage investors and we leverage state or federal funding to come in to try to help these developers develop housing in the city. And so that's
too bad they gave all their money to Progress Worcester PAC.
Try to identify people or folks who may have these resources to work with them to take a risk and put together these projects together, whether it's the tiny home project or even the Quality Inn Hotel, or even others that are in the pipeline of discussion as well. And so I think those are a combination of areas where the council can be supportive and helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And I think that it's important for people to understand also that we do not have a line item in our budget for solely dedicated to supporting, amplifying, and complementing all the other efforts that are going. And that's partly because we depend on home funds, ESG funds, we depend on the state. But at some point, I think the questions that I've been asked, and when I look at communities like Austin, I look at California, Folks have made efforts to use bond money to amplify and complement projects on the ground, or to get more projects on the ground, right? We've used bond money to fix our streets. I've asked the question at least one time in my tenure in the last 2 years, why can we use bond money to amplify all the stuff that needs to happen in the community? The resource center is great, 2 years. The shelter is going to be done by March. And then we tell people to go back on the street. And trust me, those providers at Open Sky, and I think you were there, when they had to tell people at the end of March that you're done, I'm sorry, go back to where you were. It was heartbreaking for those folks. So I would like to see some interim measures that Councilor King talked about, like having a year-round climate-controlled shelter that has more capacity than 60 people. I'm sorry to make you wait, Dr. Castillo, but I think it's important for folks to understand what we can, what we cannot do, and what the possibilities are, and what the untapped opportunities are from a budget perspective that I think we may need to think about. And I'll close with this. I think it's fine that we have two different departments in our city. We have the housing, we have homelessness, we have public health, and I think those things intersect. But I think what Councilor King was hinting at something that I talked about a few months ago, which is that we cannot separate housing and homelessness. Homelessness is a housing issue. It starts with housing, it ends with housing. And so I would like to see us go to a place where we're not having all these different conversations in different departments, that we have a comprehensive strategy that also has dollar amounts from our side as a city, not the federal government and not the state, that we can use to resource those ideas and those visions. Thank you, Dr. Castillo, for all you do. Thank you.
Okay, I'll send that to public health, and thank you, Dr. Castillo.
Too good. She's too good for us.
So when it comes out,
None of that shit's going to happen.
I'll send it to public health. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Aguirre?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson?
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yes.
Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
Mayor Petty?
Yes, transfer information communication of the update concerning data and statistics collected relative to the locations where overdoses associated with opioids are occurring in the city. You can send that to public health. Prior to doing so, Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to say thank you to the folks who testified and the folks who survived and are now giving back to the community and coaching others to be able to better their lives and, get back on track. And so I just want to say we see you and we're better because you're alive
I will,
and that you're
system.
doing
I see you.
So that's definitely the sentiment I want to start with. And then the other question I had is, I know during budget season, the opioid settlement was kind of just headed towards HHS. And I know Councilor King also mentioned about, making sure that the opioid settlement actually gets put back into the community and that work. And so I just wanted to ask, what has that money been used for? I think it was $500,000. I'm not sure, but if you could share with us what that money, the settlement money, was used for, that would be great.
Dr. Castillo or Mr. Manager or Tim McGarthy?
Anyone? Bueller?
The question was, we received monies regarding opioids from how much was it and where was it used?
Dude, no one knows. This is awesome.
Through the chair, to the counselor, the opioid dollars are being received over the course of, I think it's about 20 years. Under mass law, they have to be absorbed into the general fund, the budget, and then distributed as part of the budget allocation. Excuse me, as part of that, what we do is we dedicate those funds to HHS. So those funds are supplementing the various HHS activities that have gone on over the last 2 fiscal years, including things like staffing for various outreach work that they do, certain OM activities that they have, as well as work up as part of the contract that they have with CHL for the kind of community outreach and work with the police.
Thank you for that. Can I get a little bit more detailed on exactly what it was used for, and if you
We didn't
know,
get
let's
any
say
yet.
anything
That's
was
we're getting
actually
25 grand a year for the next 20 years, and essentially the cost of a driveway paving.
Through the chair, we can give you a report on what those funds went toward.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Overtime for the cop with the least hustle.
Yeah, I mean it's not even a real number. That settlement on the national settlement was such a joke that it was only celebrated because people are impressed by big numbers in whole. In aggregate, it means nothing.
Okay.
It took me a while to even like remember what Two was talking about.
Like
I'm like, what's that?
an accounting of that. I don't know if it's possible to create a separate line item or an item pertaining to those funds, even though it goes into the general fund. I get it. But if there's a way that we can kind of track and monitor that moving forward. We have the highest, according to this report, the highest number of overdose deaths in the state. This particular thing, report shows where the most concentrated incidents have occurred. Main Street, 62, Pleasant Street, 40, Queen Street, 29, and on it reads. My question to the chair is, what is our strategy right now for those hot spots, for lack of a better term? What is our strategies related to those parts of the city? I know we're engaging is probably similar to what we're doing and what we've been doing. And that's what I expect the answer will be. But subsequent to that answer is I want to know, how are we measuring the efficacy of the work that we're doing? Through the chair.
Dr. Castillo, or Mr. Manager, Dr. Castillo.
Through the chair to the counselor, I think that most of the overdoses happen in the most vulnerable areas in the city. I think that's where most of our outreach goes to. That's where our recovery coaches go to. When I talked about the outreach team, quality of life, all of the supporting agencies that do outreach, they are mostly embedded into those areas and try to bring people into services. A lot may not want services, but that is their goal. They go time and time again to be able to do that. But I think that all our efforts have been in those vulnerable areas. When we talk about that 911 crisis intervention, is to bring clinical services in that area when we know that all the calls come from that area, so that they can deploy a clinician to go out into the area to be able to do that, and still looking at what other public health pieces that we can do to really bring resources into that area. We have the Road to Care van, which is through UMass, which brings clinical services along with addiction services, the Spectrum van, which brings also clinical services and addiction services out into the community. The thought is that you bring services to the neediest people because they're not accessing that services, so we need to go there.
Thank you.
While also pushing them around the city as best we
Thank you,
can.
Dr. Steele. We know that as these challenges continue, folks being unsheltered, unhoused, challenges with addiction, opioids, and other forms of substance misuse, that we can anticipate again that that's going to impact quality of life of those folks going through it and those folks in our community being impacted. We have talked a lot here. I can hear Councilor Bergman and others in my head talking about how folks come here for treatment and services, how they end up trying to access
No, he hears Mo Bergman in his head. I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
It's all over.
And I was told they didn't have any shelters there. And I don't know if that's true or not.
There's only one viewer on the Worcester City stream, and it's us.
Accessing and engaging with our regional partners, regional resources is something that we should be doing. I'm going to file an order that the city administration begin that process. I know that part of that is really beginning to have dialogue. We know that with the MBTA legislation in regards to affordable housing, we have neighbors that are balking at that. My question to the administration is, have we considered, have we begun any sort of engagement with regional, local, surrounding communities in regards to the challenges that we're facing here in the city that include folks coming from their areas?
Mr. Manager.
Through the chair to the council, we've been working very closely with CMHA, who does a lot of the regionalization work here in the city, where they're working with many towns in the surrounding areas and trying to set up shelters in those towns. You know, from what I've been told, they've asked, you know, they're working with some of these towns. They've had a lot of challenges in some towns in comparison to others. Some are very more receptive, and they're building more shelter capacity there. But again, that work, we've been ongoing work with Leah Bradley in the CMHA.
Thank you. I'm wondering if there's a way that we can get a little more involved, where we can be a part of some sort of city-town summit at some point in time in the next incoming days and weeks, so they can hear directly from our leadership about what's going on in Worcester and what the impacts are on our shelter system, on our kids and families, on the folks who are coming here, Mr. Chairman. And I'd like to make that a suggestive order. So I'd like to file that order that the city begin to engage in that process. I'm extremely concerned, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Jess, that's a very good point.
We're doing a lot of what we've been doing, and you know, as mentioned, to what degree does the council have control?
It shouldn't be a requisite.
No. My quick
thing.
question to the chair, to the
It's a
administration,
huge,
perhaps to the solicitor, is there any sort of, are we aware of any
unproductive
sort of
policy
pending litigation, legislation, or anything that way outside of the MBTA things
Nope.
as relates to housing?
Just nobody.
Is there anything
Nope.
related to shelters or, you know, we've talked a lot here on this council floor about, hey, we should be getting some sort of remuneration or some additional financial supports from the state, given the fact that we are a hub. Is there any legislation pending that way that we're aware of through the chair that will require that, or we could somehow benefit from additional budget line items from the state?
Mr. Trainer.
Through the chair to the council, nothing that I'm aware of, no.
Redirect the money from the horses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh yeah, did people hear about that? They're shutting down the mounted unit for the Worcester Police Department.
Who are suffering,
opening up a glue unit.
And
is hear about this? Anybody hear about this?
The number one spot is in Main South.
Burglars better be ready for a sticky situation.
I'd like to again see a strategic plan for these hot spots in order of priority. And while I know we can sit here and we can
Camber, I don't know who you are.
talk about all the
I
individual
refuse
things
to
we
acknowledge
do,
that.
when the public is reaching out to us as a governing body, as elected officials, we should be able to point to something where we can provide them that says, hey.
Bill, how
we're
many
engaging
decades
with
do you think it'll be
regional
before?
partners.
What are you going to do in these?
Central Mass Housing Alliance.
How many decades do you
This
think it'll
way,
be before we move
our
on
health and
clean
human
injection
services
sites?
and
Now
our
that we have
social
plenty of
workers and
data
our
showing New
code,
York's
our police,
experiment with
whoever
that
it
has
is
been a
that's
rousing
responding are
success,
engaging
with the
in this
exception
way.
of upset townies.
They can have that synthesized.
30, 40.
Decades or years?
30 decades.
30
no,
decades.
no, years, 30 or 40 years.
Crises, we can have those.
No,
That's never going to happen.
Jessica's
as
comment, I mean, it's the
living
only one that matters in
document
regards
on
to
our website,
addiction treatment
would be
when
my
it comes to
recommendation,
shelters
Mr.
and
Chairman.
whatnot. I just,
Again,
the puritanical
that,
nature of
we
how
have to
we demand
invest
sobriety
more
as a
budgetarily
part
in our
of
health and human services.
having
we need more
a
social
roof over your
workers in
head
that unit.
is
Right.
just such a wild concept to me.
Yeah, like we don't make that demand of fucking K. Toomey.
More boots
Right?
on the ground. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Which is
We are going to send that to
such a
public health.
depressing conversation.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Rivera, you want?
Yeah, I was just saying that if we wanted to, since we were kind of on the same topic, that we can take the items that I had that were 9E and 9F.
Okay, you want to take that off these items?
Yeah, I mean, they have, I mean, they're different, but there's some conversation on that. So for the interim of time, I figured we can kind of just condense them and put them together so you can read them off, and then I will speak on it. And then I think some of the topics we've talked about are here, so just.
So the first one's request manager support formation of emergency task force for the purpose of aiding.
All right, this is the perfect time for me to take a little smoke break. That conversation was fucking horrible, and nothing's gonna get better. And I cannot listen to Sarai for 10 minutes right now. Like, I wish that we had something to cut away to, because this is crazy. I'll be back.
Everyday miracles potential amass more members.
Oh yeah, that's coming up. What day is that?
Organized discussions
Or?
between the city, various health.
I don't want to say the wrong date.
Leaders from the parents and substance use recovery action.
You know, you'd think I would put the date on the damn thing, but nope, I just have words.
For the purpose of gaining insight into how.
Yeah, that's what I thought. December 4th.
To the opioid remedial funds. Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, so as you can see, some of this coincide with some of the conversations that people were having. So I figured we can kind of like work smarter and efficiently versus harder and longer. So in this first one, 9E, I just want to first thank the people that came out into the community, came out and testified today. I've had the privilege of working with many of them and meeting with many of them, but they're really kind of the unsung heroes in our community who really have put in the work, who have seen for one or many reasons have had to endure challenges in life and are dealing with, many of them have had to face and deal
Accident,
with this
I swear,
really
accident.
difficult illness of substance abuse disorder. When we look at this, what's happening now with CHL, I do want to say that we've had meetings with UMass and Community Health Link, and I do feel, I think as many people feel, that the sincerity of them really pushing forward and wanting to have this program back on is real. I don't think they're trying to blow it off by any means. I really want to thank Jim Leary for being present, for having conversations, for coming to community, doing tours, meeting with this particular group. I want to just have that clear that I feel like UMass has been very present at the table, open to conversations, open to the concerns, hearing people out. So I really wanted to kind of put that out because I think it's fair to be able to say when someone is doing something right. Also taking into account that right now the concerns are, there's many, many concerns, and they don't want to just open for the sake of opening because it's something that they have to do. Yes, they know they have to do it, but they want to do it right. They want to make sure that staff and client safety is of the utmost right front and center, and that they have the right staffing. And this, it's taking longer than what they anticipated. They have been upfront and honest. They have been meeting with us and community and with people of this council to be able to give that information. That being said, you know, the issue that we're facing regarding the opiate crisis and the substance abuse and what we're seeing in overdoses does not fall solely on the hands of CHL, does not solely fall on the hands of UMass CHL. It is 3 programs that have played a significant role, and having them not present, not opened, and not working currently, we've seen it. We've seen it. It has put a hurting on this community. Now, however, as they're trying to heal and recover, it is up to us as a community to figure out what we do to help our community. You know, I don't think that if we had an oncology unit that had to be closed for whatever reason, that we would just simply accept.
Main South Mom and Jess is a very good discussion. That's kind of what I was saying before. Main South Mom, like I'm not questioning that they.
So right now,
when people say that we need specialized
on this council
housing and
in
shelter
order to
systems
create, you know,
that they are
something that we
right
create some
in that.
sort
It's
of
just
a
I just don't think they're
task
being sincere when they say
formation
it.
of some sort of emergency
So
task
it's not to
force. We're
discount
dealing with an emergency right
the work
now.
that you're doing or the work that anybody is actually doing. It's just when we're talking about this specific group of people in this room right
And
now,
it's all folks. It's
that when
all
they bring stuff up like
it's
that,
all
then
race,
I think it's
community.
to,
It's happening
you know,
everywhere.
shirk
And we don't
their
begin to
duty,
address this and understand that. So I would ask
as
this
opposed to
administration,
actually trying to get to the
along
issue.
with the mayor,
And
to create an
even if they
emergency
are
task force
sincere
for
and
the purpose
caring
of
or they're worried or anything like that, I don't doubt Sarai is a sincere
gap
person.
in service stemming
But
from
there's a huge gap between intentions
while this is going to
and
take significantly longer,
actually doing it.
close
And
to
I
another
know that
probably
the city
10 to
council
12
is not
months.
set up to be the most effective body
10 to 12
in the
months.
world, but the fact of
already
the matter
saw
is a lot of times they don't even try. They just have these discussions like we're having tonight as a way of, you know, figuring out who else could be blamed as opposed to themselves.
It's the season to be jolly and the lights and all of that. But this is a very difficult time for many people. This is a time where, you know, for those of us who work in mental health, and there's many people here working in community, know that this is a very challenging time. This is a time where people do not have a home to put up any decorations. This is a time where people are on the streets. This is a time where people are struggling with recovery because everywhere you go, there's a challenge of parties and so on and so forth. So we need to be able to have these support systems.
Sarai is writing like a bummer Christmas jingle, and it's kind of amusing.
This administration and this council to understand this and react accordingly, and put together the formation of an emergency task force that would happen sometime between now and before like the holidays hit at the end of the year, that we could at least start it and then really kind of give it a continuation. So that's that request. And I would, you know, don't know what the administration kind of feel on that and what maybe their thoughts if they'd like to speak on this. And then the second thing that I know people were having conversations with that this is about is really looking regarding the remedial funds. There's many people that feel not that they've been left out of the table. And I think it's really important. One of the things that I think I've been very adamant about in my 12 years in this council is to make sure that we are having people's voices heard, that we're giving these opportunities and they're part of the decision-making process, that we're inviting them at these tables. And so right now, there are some concerns that they haven't been fully invited at these tables, and that their voices are not really being heard and taken into account in decision-making. That can happen for multiple reasons. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on. It could be an oversight. Number of reasons, no shade, no criticism right now. What we want to do is rectify it. And we have some amazing people in this administration. And I think that this is something that we can very easily rectify, and making sure that we have the right people with these lived experiences at these tables and making decisions for this opiate remedial fund. And so I would ask this administration to, one is to take a look at creating an emergency task force that is going to deal with the gaps that we're dealing with right now. And number two, that we make sure that as we're discussing these monies relative to the opiate remedial fund, that we make sure we have the right people, that we have an inclusive table, and that we're really seriously not just entertaining them, but seriously hearing their voices and making sure that they're part of the decision making. And that's my ask.
It's really weird to me that they're spending this much time on that opioid fund. I mean, it's
this is the season.
Annually, we're going to be getting what basically amounts to like the cost of a ambulance trip and emergency room visit following an overdose. And like they're talking about this money like it's going to solve anything.
A time we want to be able to have a time of giving and of love, all these things. This is how we show it. We love to say that Worcester is the heartbeat of the Commonwealth. Let's make sure that heartbeats for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Councilor King, you get 3 minutes.
I'm just noticing Joe's candy cane tie. Now I hate Christmas.
Yeah, I was gonna bring it up earlier, and I just couldn't bring myself.
Task force to develop a plan for CHL. Through the chair to the administration, is there?
He looks like a CEO like canceling like a beloved toy line.
Impacts are if there's measurable impacts on the city and on that community because of this closure or reduction of services. I know when this first happened, we had.
How's your cigarette, Bill?
And I'm just wondering if
it was
there's a
fine.
way we can either get.
Sir, I talked uninterrupted for the entire time you were gone, and you came back 15 seconds after she finished.
Yeah, it's almost like I knew.
To the council, I'd be happy to work with
Like we could have just been like, okay, we're taking a break from the stream, and just like re-signed on after that.
at this point.
It's just so that
I
homelessness
should have had a
conversation.
video game ready to go.
I know.
That,
I still have your capture card. I gotta get that back to you.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Community voices need to be heard.
Just that whole homelessness conversation was just so immensely frustrating.
We are involved
in like ways that are hard to articulate, you know.
As we move through these processes, is that right?
It's like they just aren't serious about the problem.
There are other people in the community who are doing great work and probably not involved.
They're trying to say just enough to like placate the accusation that they're not trying without trying.
Regarding either opiate or homelessness or any issues that we do here in the city.
Like just talking about permanent supportive housing as a solution without any permanent supportive housing really in the city right now, and it's all in development. And it took an hour for Attell to stand up and ask directly what our shelter bed shortfall is for this winter. And it was 200 people. And no one, not even Matty Castile, brought that up even fucking once. You know, it's like, Jesus Christ. And then George Russell gets up and starts hemming and hawing about like how we need to make it fair for each of the district councilors, how we address this problem. It's like, you guys aren't the ones with the problem. Like, why aren't you just trying to help? I don't know, man.
Yes. Councilor Calorio. Councilor G.I.
Yes.
Councilor King.
Yes.
Councilor Murray Carlson. Councilor Nguyen.
Yes.
Councilor Rivera.
Yes.
Councilor Rose.
Yes.
Councilor Russell.
Yes.
Councilor Toomey.
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes. 8.28A, transmit information communication to the fiscal year 2024 fiscal update as of September 30th, 2023. Send that to MO. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman. Yes. Councilor Calorio.
Yes.
Councilor G.I.
Yes.
Andre 3000 is releasing a new album. That's something cool that's about to happen.
Councilor Rivera.
Oh, sick.
Councilor Rose.
Yes.
It's a flute-based free jazz record. Comes out on Friday. Should be interesting.
Transferring the care, custody, management, and control of the tax title property located at 27 Claridge Drive to the Executive Office of Same Management for disposition purposes and authorizing the sale of the property.
I'm just trying to find anything to be hopeful about, guys.
Councilor Russell.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a
Well,
few
I appreciate your
questions,
effort.
through you to the administration. I don't know if the manager or if anyone else would like to answer. But how do we acquire this property?
Mr. McGurthy.
Speaking about acquiring things, did we tell them about our crowdfunding effort yet for that ace ball team?
To the land court in 2016. The land court made a decision.
We're buying the Woo Sox, folks.
Yeah, with your help, we are going to buy
We're
the
gonna-
Woo Sox.
We're gonna rename them the Poo Sox.
We took it because the taxes weren't paid.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, and then, well, we took it, but it was not part of.
They're going to
the
wear
tax
Worcester
title
Tornadoes uniforms.
At any point?
Through the chair, no, the city retained. the
Dude, so
tax
cool.
Mr. Chairman, why was this property?
And then 2 years, we're going to move them to Lowell.
Through the chair, I can't answer that. It was done in 2014, and I don't know the rationale at that time for retaining.
Dude, if the Woo Sox got bought by the Saudis, like a Saudi prince, that would be so cool. They just do like burnouts and like Maseratis. in
They'd fix the
outfield.
door.
Abandoned single family.
Right, right. They fix the door so that Diplo can perform there on their dime.
How are we gonna dispose of this and how much are we gonna get for
We
it?
have a UFC event.
So many UFC events.
Through the chair to the councilor, as we described in our memo, I think Mr. McGurthy attached it. One of the reasons why we wanted to take over care, custody, and control was to do a disposition that would not be an auction, so that we could do a request for bids or request for proposals to make sure that the disposition is aligned with our housing strategy. And so because it's a single family lot, we would envision doing a disposition that included a purchase price, but also a qualitative review of what are the plans, including an affordable housing restriction and first-time home buyer. So it would be similar to the approach we used with 17 Lodi Street, if you remember that one in Green Island. So just that's our instinct about how we would proceed, but we're doing some additional sort of due diligence and investigation. We actually went into the property recently. I can tell you it's in terrible condition. So just the feasibility of retaining the structure could be questionable. So we don't want to rule out, those scenarios right now. It could be that just based on its condition and based on the sort of approach necessary to sort of try to save that structure and then offer it for sale at an affordable price for a first-time home buyer, it's possible that a demolition and new construction might actually be more feasible. But that's kind of the approach that we're taking with the disposition to make sure it's aligned with our housing strategy.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm thinking, when I saw it, I've never been to the property. I just Google mapped it and took a look at the visual from outside. And 10,000 square foot lot in a reasonably nice single family neighborhood. I just want to make sure that this is not a property that's going to be sold.
I want my little grubby hands on that.
Or put up.
Why can't I sell it?
Just trying to get my beak wet.
I can fill it with so much herring.
Through the chair to the city accountant, I'm just trying to get my beak wet.
Say that, Councilor Russell and his colleagues dropped the ball on this and it was sold off on auction. I think that we really need to look. I understand what you're saying about trying to make an impact and get an affordable unit. But I also think that
the onion to be peeled on the term nice neighborhood is just so
by putting it up for some kind of
evergreen question.
Auction, because there are so many builders that are looking to build nice single family properties where you might actually double the benefit for the affordability fund by doing it. I'm just throwing that out there just as if a thought, but I just want to make sure it's on everybody's radar because there was no details in the package.
Just throw that out there like I throw my sausages, peppers, and onions on the grill.
I just want to flag it.
I will say, from before the election now, I don't know that George was the right choice. I honestly don't know, but I for one am glad. I for one am glad that he is still around. He is too funny and not bad enough to make how funny he is not worth it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you're saying.
He hits the sweet spot.
I know I see so many other communities actively.
I want to see a full synchronized swimming performance by George.
He's like wholesomely corrupt.
Yeah.
He means
it's almost accidentally corrupt.
Right.
He could be in Bedford Falls, like that kind of corrupt. Like old Mr. Russell, always getting his beak wet.
Generating revenue from excess properties, whether it be real or otherwise.
Councilor Hajian?
He's like, put him in a different time and place and like redlining. He'd be like, well, we got to consider both sides of
Two
this.
sets of neighbors there,
Right.
one of whom I left a message on Friday to let them know that this was happening. So this is not only a blighted property, it's actually quite dangerous. There's an abandoned car in the driveway. I believe the wife of the owner has passed away for a long time. It's the neighbors told me that they are surprised that it hasn't fallen through. There's a hole on the roof. So I'm super happy that this is out, and I really support Mr. Dunn's strategy to use this. And I'm hoping Habitat for Humanity, maybe we could reach out to them, but hopefully they'll respond to the RFP so that we can have an actual affordable housing developer like them potentially use this for folks that need it. So thanks.
Thank you. Councilor King?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just wondering, is there a way through the RFP that we can put language in there that would designate that this would be part of something like for folks who are first-time home buyers or folks who are trying to get into or out of a tough situation, referring to housing.
Mr. Manager?
Through the chair to the council, that is correct. We can structure those documents to have that kind of language.
Okay. And when Mr.
I like that
Dunbar
there's one person watching the
go
city's
along with our
Facebook feed.
housing strategy.
It's
Right
us.
there in the top left.
Through the chair.
I believe it's
It's literally
us.
just us. Yeah, that's so cool.
Is that what we're referencing?
I'd love to see it.
Mr. Dunn is
But it
saying
also
that we're
makes
gonna stick
me
to our
upset
housing
because
strategy
we're
as a
trying to
making sure
simplify or connect this
that they're
message to normal
affordable.
people, and it just shows how
Let's go to,
monotonous and
and
terrible
just
it is to
lastly, what's the
watch.
story behind this
Right,
particular
but
situation?
the
Do you know
commiseration is the key.
the story in 2014 or 2013? Like what happened?
I had an interesting conversation with David Webb today over coffee about the same type
Through
of
the chair to the
topic.
council, all we know is that
word.
their property owners have passed away. They've died, and the property has been in disrepair, like the council stated. That's to the extent of knowledge that we have related to this property.
Thank you. I just, again, want to make sure by way of that RFP has that inclusive language to make sure that we're making a dent where we need to. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll take a roll call. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson,
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
Mayor Petty.
Yes. All right, finance items, 8.35A through E, 8.36A only, B is held under privilege, 8.37A through F. Motion is adopted on the roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes, motion is to reconsider those items. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
No.
Councilor Calorio,
No.
Councilor Haji,
No.
Councilor King,
No.
Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
No.
Councilor Rivera,
No.
Councilor Rose,
No.
Councilor Russell,
No.
Councilor Toomey,
No.
and Mayor Petty.
No. Auditors request city manager, request the Commissioner of Public Works and Parks work with the Commissioner of Transportation and Mobility to survey the city's east-west trail or Plantation Street to design and implement a safe crossing path for hikers, pedestrians. Said survey should include reviewing feasibility of installing flashing pedestrian crosswalk signals at the intersection. I know Council Cousins filed something similar. This is more in depth, so we'll just do that as it reads. Roll call. Council King, you want to sign on? Okay, sign on.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes, and I
Mayor
wanted
Petty.
to sign on too.
Okay. Yes, as amended. Okay. Now, request the city manager, request Assistant Commissioner of Public Works and Parks repair the 5 gates for the tennis courts at Greenwood Park. Councilor King,
As it reads, Mr. Chairman, this came from a resident.
roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes. C, that the City Council, City of Worcester hereby amend this meeting schedule to cancel its agenda on November 28th, 2023, make it agenda, its agenda on December 5th, a combined City Council and City Manager agenda. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson, Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
You heard it here first, folks. No meeting on the 28th.
Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Hallelujah.
Request that the city manager explore the feasibility of creating a local historic district for the Hammond Heights neighborhood. Said exploration should be discussions with area
All
residents.
right. Seems like they're hustling through these orders. That's nice.
Each district being created.
That's how it should be every time, honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there was a similar petition on at some point. I have had discussions with the administration. We've had some challenges pulling together a meeting, so it's wanted to file it on the council floor, and looking forward to have those conversations with that neighborhood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman?
Yes.
Councilor Calorio?
Yes.
Councilor Haji?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Merrill Carlson? Councilor Nguyen?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera? Councilor Rivera?
Yeah, sorry.
Councilor Rose? Yes. Councilor Russell?
Yes.
Councilor Toomey?
Yes.
And Mayor Petty.
Yes, request made to investigate programs and funding that would assist small businesses, restaurants, and bars by reducing the cost of installing mandatory sprinkler systems. Councilor Toomey.
Last order.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just want to make one thing very clear. I know some of the pundits have said that, this is all tax dollars and being spent. It's not. I'm asking for research on programs that are out there already.
What
and
pundits?
I do know that a
know
lot
any
of civil
fucking
people need
pundits,
to plan
Kate.
for this. Well,
The hell does that
sometimes,
mean?
if you don't know, if another business was doing business in a building and you made plans to purchase it, you would not necessarily know that and there was a change in all of that. And so I think it's really important and incumbent on the city to make sure that through our economic development office and through our boards and commissions, that we let people know that there may be unforeseen costs in using the sprinkler system costs.
Bill's not a
is one
pundit, he's a
example.
fundit.
Another example, we had recently an
'Cause
issue
he's so fun.
with an
Oh, thanks, dude.
upgrade
That's nice.
Welcome.
for a small business
how I feel.
for their restaurant. It's going to cost them
It's so wholesome.
$78,000, which they have to pay up right away.
Listen,
Um,
normalize
in
telling
order
your
to
friends that they're fundits.
continue. They've already invested in the business. So, the folks don't know all of this stuff in advance. So I think it's important that we do everything we can and perhaps also work with the chamber to provide educational opportunities on those hidden costs. Not saying that they are going to be there, but it's an example of the hidden costs. I
What
did
the
do
f-
some research
education? What are
myself,
you
and I know
talking
that the CARES Act, which was started in, I think, 2017, was amended in 2020. The CARES Act actually, there's a tax incentive for commercial sprinkler retrofits in that. And it can be expensed up to $1 million for each year of expense. And also small business can deduct interest from loans. And it qualifies, qualified improvement property also speaks to that in the federal incentives. The other thing is that I think that listening to Mara and Angelo,
that makes it sound like the business
in
needs
her
to
case,
own the property.
they're leasing the property.
Who knows?
And
Well, there you
so
go.
perhaps
Thanks, Kate.
we need to talk to property owners.
This is
of
all super
commercial
helpful.
businesses and let them know that this is going to be a factor. They probably would not have bought that business had they known this was coming. So, I think especially for leasing properties. we're
God,
an older
this is
suburban
so
city,
much less helpful
and
than the
it's
order
more
read.
expensive to do
Yeah.
this. We heard this
Now
from-
she wants to
from
sound
one
smart,
legal
and it
one.
ruined the whole fucking
They're
thing.
Coming at it from a different perspective, but
Yeah, we need to do education for our woefully uneducated small business owners.
I think it
The
can be
fuck,
very
dude? Like,
overwhelming.
Jesus Christ.
And the other thing is, I know in Bartlett, Illinois, they actually had a matching
Know
grant program or matching program, matching grants up to $50,000, and it was paid for by revenue from video gaming. That's an option. So there's a lot of
Revenue
creative
from video
opportunities,
gaming?
perhaps
Dude, what the fuck?
We
Oh
have
my
to finish the
God.
odd now.
Source,
Really
please.
big skee-ball scene in Illinois, so they were able to skim a quarter off of
Right.
every
It was
hour's
paid,
play.
yeah. Revenue from
Listen.
video gaming, which Worcester gets, so this is helpful. Jesus Christ, what are you talking about, dude? Like,
opportunities. The other thing I do want to say,
I'm right.
Those people
I'm
are
right
nuts.
to be playing Spider-Man 2 all the time. I'm just helping
2017
sprinklers.
until I think 2022 or 23, you could get 100% back for credit, tax incentive credits. But after 23.
Why don't you
it
just
drops
email
to
this to the person who asked you, right? Like,
and I think 24 goes to 60% and so on.
Yeah,
so
Becker
it
had a
does
video
have
game
a
team. We
sunset
blew
in
it.
that- in
Now
that
we can't
clause.
get
But
revenue
I
from
think
video
that,
gaming.
they also stated in there
WPI has a
that
BattleBots team.
could,
Does that
working with
count?
your,
That doesn't count.
Good tax attorney, I think apply for a credit back to
Pretty sick, though.
2017
Yeah,
when
super
it
sick.
first started. So,
I wanted to
but this
try
is
and get them on the
specifically
Sword of Light
for
show
commercial properties,
and have
not
them
residential.
attack us with a
And
robot.
so I think
Be so cool.
we should have that information available for folks, especially when they're going for licensing or any.
Kate Toomey's book report to end the city council meeting.
All of these things.
Man.
Guys, do you know video games make money?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think that this is a great order. Just in the last couple of months in my district, there's been 3 opportunities that have been lost because of the cost of a sprinkler system for small
Why'd
businesses.
you donate some of your campaign
wanting to
funds?
go in. So I think anytime that we can educate.
Kick around some of that
folks,
tow truck money.
if there's opportunities for grant.
The chamber can raise
monies,
$100,000 in no time at
for
all.
these
So, I mean,
small
they should really just be
businesses,
covering 100% of this.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. They did that in a month. Why not put that back towards the businesses they
last
claim to
year,
support?
There
You
were
know?
2 small businesses that came into my district, and they really were put on the line by having to pay for the installation of that sprinkler system, which was in the vicinity. One of them was like $109,000 that they had to dish out, which was
I don't know if this was
an
just a joke that somebody made, but I heard
expense. So I do
at some point
think that
last year
this order
that
is
somebody was
great,
trying to
about educating
take over the
small
sprinkler factory,
businesses,
but they
more
didn't do it because
importantly,
they
if
couldn't
there's
afford to put
any
sprinklers in.
monies or grant
Yes.
opportunities
That's
or
so
any way
cool.
that
Oh, that's
can
the
get
issue there.
additional
That's
help.
one of the most Worcester
That
things I've ever
rocks.
heard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor King.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If anywhere, should have sprinklers.
Folks are looking
Yeah,
for
you'd think.
flexibility here, Mr.
They should be
Chairman.
fucking,
I don't know if there's
swimming
a
in them
way
over
of,
there.
working with folks to phase in these sprinkler systems. I too have been approached by small businesses even over the last maybe a couple of weeks ago, right before election, around these same financial challenges related to the sprinkler systems. Some of them have owned the buildings, others have been.
So I put it out there. I might as well do it now. If any bars that are not allowed to do live music anymore because there are no sprinklers would like us to just take over their room to do comedy shows there every week for a number of months,
when working
just
with these businesses,
DM us on Instagram.
pertaining to
You will
the
have to give
installation
us.
of the mandatory
You
sprinkler
don't have to give us
systems
free
and what
drinks.
is
but
our
You have to give us
process that we're
something cool.
using, to
Couple
hold
free
people to
drinks.
account
Some
for
free
who
drinks.
identify
An amount of free drinks.
businesses. How does that come to your
Or
attention?
get us like pizza or something. Cool.
A promise to
The
not catch
council
on fire.
comes in various ways. One, it could be a
And that would actually be. That's actually that's deal memo one. that's bulletin point one.
or capacity.
You're not
of the
allowed to
space.
catch us on fire
It could be also inspecting
through intention or
different businesses,
ignorance.
and that happens throughout the city. And they looking for the intended use. And so what they do is they compare what's currently happening, what do they do, what are their what are some of the events and activities they're having in the business, and then also what is the intended use that they wrote down as part of the license. And is this, if it's opposing what is in the license, then they're in violation of what the intended use is, which in some instances it could be a definition that is here that is determined as nightclubs, and nightclubs has a broad definition. Again, this is a state mass general law that we have to uphold. And then also, I think one of the issues here is that as any business that is over capacity 3 consecutive times automatically triggers then.
Are churches held under the same?
And so there's certain restrictions and limitations.
No, God takes care of that one.
Yeah, can't burn a church
that happen based on the
unless you're in
mass general law
Norway.
that this fire department and
Or
building code
Lester?
enforce these
Which,
elements.
which is the church?
Yeah, God did that actually.
Oh, right, yeah.
Going on to this.
It's because the
again,
priest was gay.
I think we have to be as
That's what I
flexible
heard.
as
That's what happens.
You can say whatever you want and then just say, that's what I heard, and it's totally fine. You're off the hook.
Can come with frequency, consistency, and reliability. And I understand the safety concerns here.
That's it, folks. He's a reporter. He hears things.
Right, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Sources say.
I just heard God was punishing the wicked. I don't know.
And some sort of flexibility to the extent possible on the city side. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just like how, as time goes by, like tones change on things. Like I was slumming around the Lucky Dog and Ralph's back when the station fire happened.
In the instance
And I mean,
of,
there are people on this
Mara,
council who are still on the council then. I mean, we had the fire department coming into the Lucky Dog like every night of the week just to check the height of stairs leading up to the stage, like the material that microphone covers were, you know, pop shields were made of, and what. Like they were going through everything with a fine tooth comb. And now enough time has gone by where, come on, like we just got to figure out a way to get around this whole safety thing, right? Like business is suffering. It's
imperative.
Which is funny because statistically, the least likely time for a fire to happen is in the immediate aftermath of another fire.
Whatever, and
So,
I don't disagree.
you know,
we're due.
It's Coconut Grove City over here at this point.
Seeing, if they could phase it in, we have to look at what the legislature says.
One time,
about that,
my sketch group,
what that,
back in the Funny or Die days, we had a sketch about a guy that was owned a pancake restaurant. He was doing a commercial for his new pancake restaurant because his last one burned down. It got pretty popular, and we were like tracking like the views and stuff of it, and we just had 0 views in Rhode Island. Just nobody, because it was, I don't know, it came out a month after the station fire.
Sprinkle the residential area.
Not a lot of audience for it in that neck of the woods.
That needs to be looked at, but I think we do need to talk to the legislature about this delegation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
Through the chair, just to clarify a little bit, and I know, just
Travis, if you could go back and clip Kate
we
saying that we have to then sprinkle residential units. I'd love that, just for
have them
maybe like a
provide,
ringtone or something.
Some detailed plans about what they're trying
Isn't
to
that
do.
like when your second kid's born?
In these kind of scenario that we have in front of us, we do not shut down the business. We just ask them to shift the use of what they're currently doing to meet the currently occupancy maximum capacity, and then while
We just
they
kneecap
submit
them in
plans
an
and work with the
unsustainable
fire
way.
department and the building code to kind of rectify the issue.
Oh, people have a problem with this? Let me just re-explain the problem.
Again, I don't like. It sucks, but
Yes.
like you said before, we're due. So
yeah,
they had to
It's
do
like-
something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Yeah, it totally
Yes.
sucks, but it's also kind of like arguing about the unnecessary cost of seatbelts in cars, right? Like,
Right.
it just kind of makes sense, folks. Like,
Did I miss something? Oh, 10
And yeah, I agree. Like if
information communication
you
relative to
know,
the following
the lessee
vacancies
shouldn't
on the
be
library board of directors.
necessarily
So
on the hook for it.
We'll have the
But
library people who apply to let people know that
we gotta figure something out.
advertise on Friday.
So if there is a program, you know, if they're willing to do,
I like how Kate Toomey had the opportunity to propose an analogous matching grants program that she mentioned in passing as part of her Google search diatribe as being like, this is the thing that I think will help. It's a concrete policy solution that I think will help ameliorate this problem. Instead, she just went on a fucking riff that was useless and didn't make a concrete suggestion, and nothing's going to happen as a result of it. She just let us know what she spent an afternoon Googling. It's like she has absolutely no idea what being a city councilor is. Like, she
And
could
the
have made a
person-
motion that they consider a matching grants program.
and the
But
person that she
didn't.
brought in as evidence or like for to support it is somebody that paid for their sprinklers on their own. Like,
Right. Out of video games, she said, without elaborating.
but I mean, even like getting the White Eagle guy to show up, they already put sprinklers in. They own the building. Like, it's just not analogous to like what the actual issue is for most of the bars in the city. You talk about stealing wire, like they're in trouble, and they don't own their building. They can't afford to
Yes.
put in sprinklers. Like,
Yes.
get somebody like that like is actually like hurt by this.
Yeah.
Then you have a more compelling case. Don't talk to the White Eagle who's like, yeah, we're like a nonprofit. And we're just throwing sprinklers up. It's fucking fine. We're doing great.
13B.
That's very true. It's like, I wanted to be like, nice idea, Kate. Thank you.
Yeah.
A rare W for Kate Toomey. but
When I
then
read the
she
order,
just
yeah.
fucking blew it hard.
Planning board. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Dr. Calorio. I love these translations here, or captions rather.
Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose. Yes. Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
and Mayor Petty.
Yes. 13C, in an effort to reprioritize or reduce pedestrian crash potential, request the amendment by council feedback concerning feasibility of attaining a hawk. Signals, flashing beacons, enhanced lighting, and improved peering at crosswalks. For request the amendment by council report verifying the crosswalk's visibility, incident and dangers.
Wait, what about a hawk?
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you, Mr.
But I'm
Chairman.
interested.
Pedestrian safety, Mr. Chairman. I know that this is something that this council has worked on. I know Councilor Hajjai and Councilor Russell and others have done a lot of advocacy for this. I want to talk a little bit about the pedestrian hybrid beacons. I know there was some discussion that may be occurring over on Mill Street. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. I know that tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, there's a meeting at the King Community Center pertaining to Chandler Street and pedestrian safety and traffic safety. And, if you can, I think at the last meeting, I think we had a picture, a rendition as part of the packet, but there was a link there for my colleagues to take a look at. It's been on the agenda now for at least two or 3 weeks or so. So folks have familiarized themselves, but for the public, it's essentially like having a stoplight that goes over the intersection in each direction that lights up. And these particular hybrid beacons are traffic control signals. They can be used as an alternative to traffic control signals, or they can be used where intersections do not meet traffic signal warrants. I know conversations I had with Councilor Rivera in the past around, I think it's Waverly Street and Chandler right there as you come up and the road kind of crests, that would be a perhaps a location. We know that when we're looking at those solarized crossing lights, such as in Kelly Square, where we have the yellow sign and the lights up aren't always as visible. And, this particular sort of hybrid beacons are proven based on the research to reduce 29% reduction in crashes, vehicle crashes, 70% reduction in pedestrian accidents and crashes, and 97% of motorists comply with these sorts of lights. We know that at crosswalks, the research shows that signals, flashing beacons, and enhanced lights and improved pairing at crosswalks is what's working. I know that our Mr. Raleigh and folks are on top of this thing, but I'd really like to see, Mr. Chairman, a report back to the council on exactly what, outside of my representation, these pedestrian hybrid beacons are, signals, how effective they are, because it's important. It's extremely important that we are looking out this ways. The second half of this is the piece about the 3D crosswalks. Mr. Chairman, I know I voted for this a couple of weeks ago, and I want to make it clear to the administration, I do not support 3D crosswalks, Mr. Chairman. I've done some further information. These 3D crosswalks actually jeopardize our federal transportation dollars. The research has shown that 3D crosswalks are too dangerous for drivers. Things such as these flashing beacons are what the way we need to go. The few communities
You mean making it look like you're about to drive into a giant hole in the road isn't a safe thing to put in front of drivers who may not be familiar, huh?
Folks
Is that
and
what
the state
what are the 3D
sent them
crosswalks?
strongly
Yeah,
worded
lowered?
letters.
It turns the road into an
given
MC
the
Escher
fact that
painting.
we
So
go
like
against the
when you
neighborhood
realize you're coming to a
forecast
crosswalk, it just
control
looks like a
device
giant hole.
and
So you
compliance
slow down
standards,
because you don't want to drive
which
into
is
a
actually
hole.
what qualifies us for federal funding. This is a real issue, Mr. Chairman.
I thought they were like. I was hoping
It's just
like they were
that
raised or something. That'd be cool. We'd
crosswalks are not the solution.
take it at speed.
Pedestrian safety
Try and
is
get air.
about really bringing those proven solutions, Mr.
Here's
Chairman.
I'll see if I can get a picture of one. And the ones that Iceland was using, it actually looks like you've got like floating piano keys in the middle of the street.
From the challenges of these crosswalks are they've been found to be potentially dangerous.
But yeah, it's
significant
I
percentage
sent a link in
of
our chat if
drivers,
someone wants to share it with the group, but it's
have made evasive and
it's
erratic
wild because like it
maneuvers.
is the sort of thing
A
that if you
significant
were
percentage of drivers
if you were not
react
prepared,
unpredictably.
like you might think that you're about to drive into a giant piano that
And
just
according to these reports,
That would
appeared
that
from
was-
another dimension in the middle.
That would terrify me, and I would try and kill it with my car. So not helpful.
Mr. Chairman, just for verification from the administration, and I'd really love to see, in addition to that, whether or not these sorts of beacon hybrid pedestrian beacons can be begun to be piloted in all 5 districts, Mr. Chairman, at locations identified by the district councilors, if in fact
There's all sorts of different
feasibility
designs
there.
for them. Those are
Thank you,
just,
Mr.
I think the Iceland came up with the most absurd potential design, which was, let's make it look like there's a giant physical object
Bergman?
floating in the middle of the road.
Yes.
Mr. Calorio?
Yes.
Mr. GI?
It's Iceland, though. I
King?
mean,
Yes.
they're
Mr.
kind of wacky
Carlson?
out there.
Councilor Yan?
Yes.
Councilor Rivera?
Yes.
Councilor Rose?
Isn't Iceland on the verge of just erupting? Like,
Yes.
Yes.
in that entire society getting destroyed?
Order of Council Member Carlson, Sean
What's
Rose,
happening?
request city manager provide.
There's like a lot of earthquakes happening.
Oh yeah, there's like
There's
5.
humongous fissures developing right through giant swaths of land.
Cool.
Carlson?
Yes, Mr.
That sucks because I
Chairman.
had my money on Iceland in the long game. You know,
through you, Mr.
being like the
Chairman,
last human
as,
society.
It's Greenland.
If you could explain,
Oh, is it Greenland? Oh, then whatever.
what will happen
That's
to
my
this
risk
project
strategy.
that,
Iceland,
their tip had
are they
been
doing Ragnarok? Is that what's happening?
and they're not moving
And yeah, I mean, I know
forward on
Iceland
this
is wicked
project.
progressive, but
I believe the
Reykjavik also
project
elected a literal
was,
clown
believe
as
the
mayor.
bill
When I say they're doing wacky shit, I don't mean
sold to
politically. I mean, sometimes they come up with some wacky ideas and they let them roll because there's like 10 people there and they can get away with it.
Because they're like, why not?
Through the chair
Yeah.
to the councilor, the building hasn't been sold, but
Hey,
it is
we
being
elected a
marketed
literal
for sale.
clown to be mayor.
So
What's
if there was
the big
new
idea?
owner, and the goal would be to transfer the benefit that the council approved to the new owner, we would have to communicate that to the council, the project details, and get authorization from the council to do that. I will say that
I do
we
think it would be
have
funny
a
to
contract
if
with
I lived
them.
on
The
Mill Street to
contract
just be
for
like,
this
oh sweet,
program,
double parking spots.
which is the housing development incentive program. Which
Yeah.
is
It's so awesome on Mill Street
Extra
now. I mean,
parking.
as somebody who like, I
is a form of
freely
contract
admit this, I drive way too fucking fast, and like Mill Street,
housing in
I mean,
livable communities. So
how can you
there is
not?
a section in there on assignments
But yeah, I mean,
of
traffic just
that
flows at like, I would say
and so
almost
it does
exactly
say that
35
the
miles an hour
prior
now.
written
Like that,
consent of the municipality,
the idea that anyone
must
thought
be
that having
provided if they're
a
going to sign that
4-lane
contract,
road going through a middle of a residential neighborhood
required
was going
are
to end, formerly known as the Speedway, was ever going to work out well. It just not only does it look nice, it just makes sense. It's just the towny fucks that are insisting on parking in the middle of the bike lane.
I
It's
can't get
really
over the Walter Bird statement on this, where he was like, I'm not insinuating or implying that anyone's to blame for this traffic accident. But there was a meeting where the community was not invited on this decision to have a bike lane.
What does that have to do with somebody who's standing in the middle of the road?
that assignment should not be unreasonably
It's like,
withheld.
you're reaching, dude.
Again, we would need to understand
In like a grotesque way. But the grotesque nature of it takes a little bit of background to understand. Right? Like it's a little bit too subtle for someone to see it without context, but when you really see the context, you're like, man, that dude fucking sucks. You know? He just fucking sucks so bad.
dates in terms of when the project's going to
He
So I would
he
imagine that
commented
any
on
sort of
somebody's.
assignment would actually
Somebody had posted something about, might have been Victor Infante, posted about like, hey, like PR professionals, like
all of the
tips for getting your event seen by, whatever, blah blah blah. And
the benefit that we had,
Walter answered back. He's like, "Yeah, these are good ideas. I also really prefer when someone emails a photo or pic as well." And I desperate, it's all the self control in my body not to be like, "Yeah, I fucking bet you do, pal." That's your MO.
Yeah, like I'm always just like asking, like basically pleading for people to send pics. And when it
I'm
happens,
often sending them to them in the first place, unsolicited, to
and
try
like
and get some back.
I just think that the etiquette here is that when if you send a pic, you should get a pic back. I just think that's like the etiquette in these sort of situations. So I think that we just really need to.
Yeah, I don't know how to shorten it. Pick for pick. I don't know.
Right. Pick for pick, and
The reason I raise this, Mr. Chairman, is
it's rude to me if I send you a pic
that there's a lot of
and I don't get one back. That's just really rude on your part.
Anyway, now to sabotage Worcester housing.
Anyway, now to sabotage a campaign that certainly should have won. The Chamber of Commerce pick failed in one instance. I wonder why, right?
preface that by saying
I wonder why the only Chamber of Commerce super PAC backed campaign that failed was run by Walter Bird. I wonder. And it was close. It was really close. There's just some sort of element that got in the way. I wonder what it was.
Can't put a finger on it.
And just through the chair, if I may, that's definitely a correct characterization. I do think it's important, and I know your order said this.
Man, South Mom, that was the essence of the bit. We were riffing on the bit on the history.
That then there was an ownership transfer that does get inherited because then the TIF is running with the property, but they had completed their improvements. This is a good example, this 340 Main Street, because we have an agreement with them, but they have not completed those improvements. And the other thing that's important, and I know there have, I think, been some questions over the last few years about this, because they haven't completed those improvements, they're also not currently benefiting in any way, right? So the mechanics of the TIF or the tie occurs once they complete that investment, and it's a partial reduction of the new taxes that were generated as a result of that investment. So the fact that they haven't made that investment, the project hasn't been completed, they're not benefiting today from that agreement in any way.
And I think that this is Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
Walter made a very valuable contribution to the cause, if you think about it.
Team player, Walter Bird.
Yeah, he's a real team player for the progressive movement. Honestly, like we might want to call him some sort of like MVP figure of the progressive movement. Like, thank you so much for running Jose Rivera's campaign. We couldn't have picked a better person.
not really any compliance with it, which there certainly is. So again, thank you for clarification.
You still want to send that to the
Yeah,
manager?
Walter Bird sucks and is a loser.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. Does anybody have any?
Mo,
Okay.
please get out of your car.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question here as relates to tips and ties. Our oversight positions that we have through the chair to the administration, I thought we had, are we up to 2 now? How many do we have through the chair?
Through the chair to the council, we have one position that is on economic development that oversees all the construction activity related to the tips and ties. And then there's also a construction committee that's involved in that effort. And then there's a position that is relative to the contracts of goods and services from the city's end related to some of these, related to kind of NB and WB enterprises.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would just like to get a report back.
That would be great.
Maybe think
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that.
sometimes
don't
you
know
just
when
have
last time
to
we had a report
make the jokes in a way
past years ago
that leads to
from,
the accountability. Not that I'm
from
giving myself
individual
any
officers
cover
over
here or
here,
anything, but
regarding oversight.
Right. And like
Cosby didn't get in trouble till Hannibal started
order
talking
back
about it
on
on
that.
stage.
I know that.
Good point.
Worcester Housing Authority should
Really
fire
has
Walter Bird
recently,
yesterday.
acknowledged
Um,
during a bishop week the expansion.
I personally recently tried
championing
significantly hard
make sure that,
to achieve some sort of accountability, and we've seen how that went. Right?
Yeah, a lot of people just ignore it.
Pre-apprentice and apprentice and that employees are then credited with.
The people that ignore it will seemingly be rewarded for that ignorance.
Do you have an idea to the administration?
Yep.
When we get back our draft ordinance pertaining to.
Yep.
Mr. Dunn.
Through the chair to the counselor, that'll be coming in next week.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Hyde.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair,
are we
so
surprised?
Just to make it clear, it's actually
I
really
have
good
plenty of
the
thoughts.
developers who were elected to
I'm
ask
still in a
the
position where
developers receive
some
tip
thoughts are
from
not
I,
necessarily
and
smart to share.
We understand what their history and patterns of behaviors are. In the case of 340 Main
Or like,
Street, if I'm not
if you're
mistaken,
talking about something and you can't name it directly,
developer had some history of
that's
legal
coward shit.
violations in the past. And
So
secondly,
I think that's what we saw
whether a
in the
developer
Worcester
receives,
Guardian
public
edits.
monies or not, but especially in the fact when they get public monies, it's our job and responsibility to make sure that we are raising questions whether they're hiring from local community or not.
Okay, so we're going to send that to the manager. Roll call.
Councilor Bergman,
Yes.
Councilor Calorio,
Yes.
Councilor Haji,
Yes.
Councilor King,
Yes.
Councilor Moore Carlson,
Yes.
Councilor Nguyen,
Yes.
Councilor Rivera,
Yes.
Councilor Rose,
Yes.
Councilor Russell,
Yes.
Councilor Toomey,
Yes.
Mayor Petty.
Yes, we have a motion to adjourn.
I would
Probably
like
go
to
to
do
the council under
business
suspension. Okay, we'll go under suspension. Councilor Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was hoping to do this next week. I mean, the next time we have a city council agenda, but it seems like that won't be till early December because of our votes this evening. And so I just wanted to do something that I consider pretty urgent. I'm really happy that we're establishing a advisory commission for African American and Black affairs, as well as a advisory commission on the LGBTQ plus affairs. I also think that it's important that one of the things that have been raised is our Human Rights Commission. And I have a question through the chair to the city manager. It's been, what I've understood is that their request for public records relating to police misconduct, hate crimes, and settlements regarding to the civil rights violations has been denied. And so I would like to kind of have a better understanding of what's going on here.
Mr. Manager.
That's sick.
Through the chair to the council, I'm fully aware of that discussion that happened last night in the Human Rights Commission. I've been meeting with the Human Rights Commission on a periodic basis, discussing some of the needs and things that they've been requesting of different departments, and then also talking about the bigger picture, the diversity and inclusion kind of restructuring that I presented to this council that we all supported. And
he
part of
sucks
that
at lying.
restructuring is to create a better system and processes in which the Human Rights Commission can engage with community and have community feedback or complaints come through, et cetera. And so a part of that, it requires the Human Rights Commission and other members of my city administration to work collaboratively and together to improve those areas of engagement and create.
Kid, what?
In my latest meeting with the Human
This
Rights
is a story about how you're not providing them information about police misconduct records.
At why what I was requesting and recommending is that we
Dude.
focus on an area that we need.
You would have to be the dumbest person alive to fall for this spin.
Area, like I mentioned.
But here we are, like in the city where everyone is seemingly the dumbest person alive.
DEI initiatives forward, and to put aside right now the focus that they had specifically intended to the police department in some of the reports. Not that I was withholding the report, not that there's anything to hide here.
No, that's what you did.
But why did you give it to him then?
Simple ask to the commission was, let's focus here, help me here, and then we can always go back. We can always go back to this effort.
Kid, this is unbelievable. Oh my God.
3 months from now, whatever it may be. But let's work here so then we can then potentially continue their route. I know there's been some questions as to whether I was prohibiting their levels of accountability or limiting their ability to do their work, and that is not the case. since day one, I've put forward the restructuring of the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Since day one, my request,
You didn't give them.
intent is to ensure that the Human Rights Commission can exercise its power and have the tools and the people.
What power? Come on, shut up, dude.
We can try and do that. Absolutely.
What
I
authority
mean,
is
we don't have a meeting for a while, but
what simply I'm asking the Human Rights Commission,
we
what
can
I
try
did
and
is
get a
submit
discussion
memo
going,
asking them
conversation.
to shift their focus right now, help us achieve some areas that we need some help in, and then we can get back to the areas that they've been working on over the past few months.
Thank you.
I know that you know
And,
that I know. I'm just saying.
I think it is fully within your right to, provide direction if, giving them suggestions. I do think that it is their ability to come up with their own priorities, and I hope that collaboration continues to happen. And so will they be getting their requests for the public records?
No, they'll have to go through a lawsuit.
Through the chair
like
to
the
the council,
Telegram
as
did.
of right now, I've asked them to shift their focus, and I've denied the request to receive that. But I'll be working with the Human Rights Commission to determine kind of next steps forward.
Thank you. I would like to motion a request for the city manager to work with the Human Rights Commission and join their meeting to share and collaborate on your vision to the commission, while also honoring their priorities to fulfill their mission. And I believe they have a meeting in the first week of December, which is why I had to do this under suspension. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Russell?
What's the?
Mr. Chairman, I have a quick item that I tried to put
Oh
on
my
the agenda,
God.
but I missed the deadline. I'll just ask the administration. I've already.
That was sick there at the end.
To work with the group, the knitting group.
Bill, I think I've got it, but can you give everyone a rundown as to what the relationship with the Human Rights Commission is unique in that they don't really report to the manager directly, right? Like they exist outside of the scope of, like, the manager can't actually direct them in what they can do, right? Like they
Right. I don't know if I could fully describe it
I'm
accurately.
sorry, Mr. Mayor.
But I think they might be appointed by the city council.
Yeah, just really quick.
I actually don't know.
Yeah,
I
you
just wanted
guys
to just
talked
remind some
over
folks
them
that,
talking
this
about the needy
Thursday,
council.
The 16th, there's
Oh.
a Chandler Street
George
redevelopment
wants.
meeting,
It's
and,
not Sarai, so we're going to talk
it's
over
gonna be
her.
at the Worcester
George
Brown
wants
King
a
Community
report on
Center at 126 Chandler
places for
Street,
the
and
needy
it's
council to
really
donate
big.
their goods.
You guys are really working.
Oh, that's nice.
That's awesome. That's really
See,
good.
look at good old Georgie. Like, just being a solid guy every once in a while.
The input, and I want to be able to just remind folks that on
What did I do, council? I made a mitten.
He did say knitting, so it could have been a different knitting group, but there's only one knitting group that matters.
Is the
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious.
of Dr. Greta McNeil Way at 10 o'clock. So a lot of that you can find at the calendar or the information.
So, Brennan, the Human Rights Commission,
Really important events.
is it a cabinet level advisory committee for the city manager? Or
but that one is, if I'm not mistaken, that one is unique in that they don't get their direction from the council or the manager. It's truly an advisory group for the manager, so they're able to do their own investigations. They actually have like investigative powers and whatnot.
Yes.
So them being denied that simple request is actually very much an affront. From what my understanding is, it's very much an affront to their power structure, the way it was designed, which was kind of the best we could come up with without burning the entire city to the ground over a civilian review board. Was the idea we're going to have the Human Rights Commission be able to kind of do their own investigations and whatnot, and make suggestions based on their findings.
right, and the key word in that whole thing is public records.
Right.
That any member of the Human Rights Commission, like any member of the public, is capable and entitled to request for themselves. And they were simply asking that the city manager do that on their behalf to make it easier, and he denied it, which is a very stupid move because, like, obviously I'm not on the Human Rights Commission, but, like, just file the FOIA yourself.
Yeah.
Call his bluff, right? I don't know.
Yeah, now it's gonna be in opposition to him as opposed to like him.
Wouldn't be part of the story.
Yeah, get it, like bringing but like helping them out. And
Right.
You know.
But I mean, that goes back to the same thing about how, like, for these same sort of records, the city fought the Telegram for 3 years, knowing that they had a losing position unless they were very stupid. So it's like, it just goes back to the same pattern about there's just certain records coming out of the police department that we don't want a lot of eyes on, you know, and it's worth it to fight and expend that political capital to fight it, to make sure that there's not eyes on this stuff. Which is just an insane political calculus, but also the Worcester Police Department is fucking insane. Like, the more we learn about it, you know.
Batista might be worried for his life. We might have to protect this guy.
Batista very well may have done that because he knows who Daddy is, right? And like, it's not. It wouldn't be good for him if he was just like, yeah, here, take all of them.
Yeah. He fired the chief nobody likes. Now he don't got any more moves.
Right.
Well, that's the thing too that we've discussed plenty of times in the past as well. Like, what the hell do they hold over these folks that is so terrifying to them? Like, treating that department like adults would be good for the department, right? Like, it's not a knock on the city. It's not a knock. It's just treat everyone like fucking adults. But like,
right.
There's a legitimate fear, it seems, in everybody in that room. I don't think anyone is held harmless from actually making big moves on the Worcester Police Department for some reason.
Yeah.
I've never been able to figure that one out myself.
Starship Troopers is real life.
I mean, it's
and the police department is part of an imperial class that
would you like to know more?
It's like the citizens of the Starship Troopers universe, and the rest of us are not that. And they're terrified of that. I don't know. I don't have a real answer for you, but like, they are actually afraid of the cops. And you know, your brain could spin with all sorts of conspiracy theories as to why that is.
Yeah.
Especially if you like kind of concede that police departments easily harbor a criminal element that might be well organized, right? Like a very highly organized criminal element within the police department. Like that tends to come out about every major American city police force over the years, that's the case, you know. Like, if I knew some shit that most regular people didn't know about something like that going on, I wouldn't try to get in the way of the police union, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, I think
hypothetically in a video game, you know.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, is it a gamble you're willing to take? Especially when, you know, I don't know any sane police officers in Worcester.
Right.
The ones I personally knew and grew up with, like, I don't, you know, for whatever, like, they're not. A lot of them aren't. We know one. He's in charge of the union. He's unstable. So
yeah.
Whether or not they would do something, who knows? Whether or not they would get away with it, if they did, definitely.
I think that we can safely say that there's one constituency in the city that would do something, right? If anybody was going to do something. So I think we can kind of leave it at that. I don't know. It's a good question. It's worth exploring. But
but secretly, because
we're
no dummies.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, I don't know. This was a tough one, but it was fine. It was fun. You know, we had a good time on the stream. The homeless talk was especially frustrating because of what they weren't saying, and just like the sort of like corporate governmental doublespeak. But yeah, yes. The Brian Vivo comment from public comment was easily the highlight of the night, and I'll have to make sure I go back and clip that in full and memorialize it in the newsletter. I'm trying to get a post out tomorrow. So
yeah, I mean, I don't know that we can't go back and pull the video right now.
Not easily, unfortunately. I'm trying to figure it.
I don't think we should sweat on trying to do that.
It just doesn't work unless we can. I don't even know that there's a good way to do it right now.
Somebody would have had to have clipped it when we went in. I could read it dramatically. Or
We'll
Bill
just-
has
we'll
it. Bill can
We'll
read
pull
it.
the video for next week.
I'm gonna pull it and post it on social media. Don't worry about it.
I don't think that there is.
We won't
So
do it
let's talk
justice.
about the going forward. Like, there's no meeting next week.
And no meeting on the 28th, I think.
Right. So it sounds like.
So a little break, which is fine.
Yeah. I love a break.
I have a lot of like sort of where we go from here style thoughts that I just want to make sure that I'm sharing them productively. I really don't want to do that now. But like this is a kind of a crucial moment for like considering what it is we're doing here, right? After completely eating shit in this election last week. So I think that's something that we should all be thinking about, like what's a productive use of our time. And yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't have any good answers yet.
Yeah, there's no all the stuff that we're live on. We can't scroll back on until the video's over. So unfortunately, folks, let me just double check the YouTube. Well, while we're talking, I'll double check the YouTube, but I don't think there's a way to do that either. Actually, do we have a timestamp on it?
It was 7:20 in real time, so minus 6:15. That would have been 1:15 into the meeting, I think, or 1:05 into the meeting.
All right, let me see if I can find it.
Because that did like make me very happy. It was sick.
That was very good. Scrolling through public comment now.
Yeah, this should work.
You guys want to do plugs while we're doing this?
Yeah, on December 4th, I'm going to be performing a feature spot at the Dirty Jaren Poetry Night at Ralph Schrock Diner. Excited. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm going to do something cool, I hope. And either way, I'll be there. So it's going to be fun. Come down. Yeah, school committee meetings are going to be an area of focus for sure come the inauguration of this new committee. That's a fact. Other than that, no real plugs right now. Nothing going on for me.
We got t-shirts. We got honestly, guys, now seeing all the t-shirts coming out, like they look so good. We're very lucky. This t-shirt is very comfortable. I'm pretty excited about it. So we sold over 30 of the ultra liberal faction.
You guys rule.
So cool.
Yeah, thank you so much everybody for doing it. I have it. Oh, do you have it, Travis? I have it too. All right. Let's watch this. Let's follow us on Instagram. WCT3000. Follow Moving Comedy.
The next speaker identified
No
as
shows
Brian
until January,
Trumbull.
but
Trying to mute
we love you and
I'd like to comment on 8.4A and 8.9A. I'm from the city of Worcester. That's the now next update in the urban forest master plan. I want to first take a moment to congratulate all of you on your re-election. I know that we all breathed a sigh of relief when Worcester was able to narrowly avoid the sort of sweeping progressive change that could have jeopardized its ability to remain mediocre for years to come.
Wow, that's awesome.
Well, it connects to it.
Holy shit.
That's some
Just
new
became a
dad energy right there.
Holy
And
shit, that was sick.
when I saw all the endorsements and donations from the Chamber of Commerce, I was grateful that they were swaying the election to avoid things like the now next update, which scares me in my newborn daughter's future in the city. If we give in to the ultra liberal faction and prioritize affordable housing, pedestrian safety, and accessibility over the needs of developers and cars, my daughter might not be able to grow up to drive her lifted truck at excessive speeds from one end of Mill Street to the other, or be able to pay 90% of her gross income to live in a luxury apartment complex that overlooks another building full of luxury apartments. I
Holy
think that we
shit,
need
this
to
is
ask
art.
ourselves whether we want to live in a city where we can afford to live, and where we're able to walk across the street without fear of being mowed down.
Yeah, this is Brian Dutrumble.
I sure don't, and I don't want my daughter to grow up in that world. And on the forest master plan, we should not be planting more trees. A tree is just a wasted Woosocks parking spot. As the saying goes, blessed is he who pays parking spots in which he will never park. I suggest that we treat both of these plans the same way that the city manager would approach a request from the Human Rights Commission, deny them while we wait for the state or the feds to force us to act. And then when we put it off as long as we possibly can, do the most developer-friendly thing and pick the worst of the available options, like we did with inclusionary zoning and like we will do in the future when Mayor Benienda seeks a third term. Thank you.
Really, if you had to boil down like the past 2 years, like that's just it. That was so perfect.
Incredible.
It was so amazing. It was real art. Real art. Made me feel good. Gladly we were able to pull that back up at the end here because that was fucking awesome.
We love them. Follow us again. Follow us at WC3000. Subscribe to WorcesterSucks.email for all of Bill's posts, all of Sean's bad advice columns. Get ready for Bill Shaner, the Dirty Gerund. Brian, we love you so much. Yeah, I know it's gotta be. It's tough. It's tough times. Right
Same,
now,
Brian.
So, and you probably get your, you get this kid that you hate. I understand. But let's get ready for the next meeting. We'll try and get our energy back up for the next one. It's the fight is on now, and we're all just following Brian Dutrumble into battle from here on out. So.
Did we do a palate cleanser when they canceled their meeting? Did we do something fun that night on stream?
We could.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. We should.
We could. Yeah, we could play a game, or we could just primally scream on the stream for a while.
We could do the crying thing from Midsummer.
Oh yeah.
Like just get around in a group and just cry together.
And then I'll jump off a cliff. You guys smash me with a hammer.
Yeah, that works. Brendan, you're like 72, right? It's time for you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
73 this year.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So it's your time.
Get ready. Yeah.
You're in the fall. You're in the fall of your life, or the winter.
Thank
rather.
you
I don't
guys
know,
all
whatever.
for so much for joining
kidding.
us. We love having you. Buy a T-shirt if you feel like it. It's all going back towards doing more dumb stuff. So
please do it, Maine South Mom.
Oh no, yeah, 100%. Yeah, all day, every day. So we will not see you next Tuesday. We will see you soon. We love you all so much. Thank you again. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Take care.